Chapter 741. 10 years later. In a dense mountainous forest, several figures are rapidly rushing. One figure is fleeing at the front, while the remaining figures are in pursuit behind. All the figures emit a powerful aura, intimidating the birds and beasts in the mountains, causing them to tremble and flee in all directions. Li Bao, don't expect to escape. You have violated the Holy Mountain's prohibition. For a single spirit grass, you slaughtered hundreds of people in Miao's village, deserving of death. Do you think you can hide in this remote Chao state and remain unnoticed? Even if you flee back to your sect, your Zhongshan sect would absolutely not dare to harbor you. Surrender now and return with me to Holy Mountain to face judgment. The figure up ahead continues to flee, seemingly getting further away. The pursuers behind become anxious, and the leader shouts loudly, "Ha ha ha! Holy Mountain's little brats. Catch up to me if you can. It's merely the killing of some lowly people, and you want me to go to Holy Mountain and be assigned guilt? Bah! When you Holy Mountain lot leave one day, when my divine skills reach great success, I'll flatten your so-called Holy Mountain. Even those 3 old Saint Masters will kneel before me and beg for mercy." The figure known as Li Bao laughed defiantly, his tone arrogant. The ones chasing him are merely newcomers to the initial innate realm. With his innate minor achievement cultivation, he is unafraid. If he didn't dread Holy Mountain's reputation, he would have turned back and wiped out these little brats. How dare you insult the Holy Mountain and the Saint Master? Hearing this, the pursuers become furious. As members of the Holy Mountain law enforcement team, both the Holy Mountain and its 3 Saint Masters hold unparalleled significance to them. To hear Li Bao dare to insult the Holy Mountain and the Saint Master, how could they not be angry? In their fury, the leading youth disregarded his heartache and pulled out a talisman from his bosom, activating it with his heart and spirit. The next moment, a streak of thunder light shot out from the talisman, rushing towards Li Bao ahead. What? Li Bao sensed the sudden deadly aura. Shocked in his heart, he instinctively rolled aside. Next, he felt a pain in his right arm as a bolt of thunder light grazed by him. An intense explosion came from ahead. Ah! My right arm! Li Bao looked at his side in terror to find his right arm missing. Only a small scorched stump remained on his body. His right arm had been completely severed and incinerated by that thunder light. Li Bao! Let's see where else you can run now. While Li Bao clutches his severed arm, the pursuers have already caught up, encircling him and pointing their weapons at him. The leading youth holds out a white talisman aimed at him. The aura emitted from the talisman made Li Bao's heart palpitate. Li Bao, you have nowhere left to run. Surrender now and obediently follow us back to Holy Mountain. The youth wielding the talisman spoke calmly. A thunder light talisman? I didn't expect someone at merely the initial innate realm of law enforcer to possess such a talisman. Li Bao felt the deadly aura from the talisman. His face turned pale. He had long heard that Holy Mountain's enforcement teams could wield highly mystical talismans. Most were fundamental talismans like the Featherweight Talisman. As for formidable talismans like the Thunder Light Talisman, mostly only enforcement teams at the innate great success and above, even the Foundation establishment realm, could possibly wield them. Unexpectedly, this team with merely initial innate realm members had someone possessing a Thunder Light Talisman. No wonder these few at initial innate realm dared to chase someone like him, who was close to stepping into innate great success. Thanks to you, I'm forced to use this handsomely earned Thunder Light Talisman. Thinking about this, the youth felt a wave of heartache. This Thunder Light Talisman was acquired with much effort, exchanged for accumulated merit. Originally intended as the trump card, it had to be used early on this mission. Knowing that the Thunder Light Talisman could only be used 3 times at most, he previously used it once in a crisis. After this use, only one more opportunity remained for utilizing the Thunder Light Talisman. Even capturing Li Bao's merit cannot make up for this loss. The youth's heart bled. For this capture, he was thoroughly prepared. Even consulted an expert from the Tianji building to calculate Li Bao's hiding spot. He hadn't expected Li Bao to know an exceptionally skilled featherweight technique. Even with the featherweight talisman, they were still repeatedly shaken off due to his familiarity with the terrain. With the featherweight talisman's effect waning, if Li Bao escaped further, they would fail the mission. Reluctantly, the youth had to forego heartache and use his ultimate measure. With that resolved, the youth's eyes grew stern. Looking at Li Bao, he said, "Seal his cultivation, bind him." "Yes." The other members of the enforcement team responded in unison. Then they took out spirit needles, inserted them into the major acupoints around Li Bao, completely sealing his cultivation, and bound him with resilient ropes made from mutant beast sinews. Throughout the process, the youth kept the talisman pointed at Li Bao, deterring him from taking reckless action. At such close proximity, covered by the aura, any movement would be instantly countered by the Thunder Light Talisman. Merely a graze had cost him an arm. A direct hit would be certain death. Li Bao understood this. Thus he did not resist and allowed them to seal his cultivation and bind him. However, his expression was already one of despair. He knows Holy Mountain's approach. The sins he committed this time were indeed grave. When taken back to Holy Mountain, whether facing immediate execution or indefinite imprisonment awaited, the youth and others disregarded Li Bao's thoughts. This person would slaughter entire villages for a single spirit grass. To call him vicious and cruel would not be insufficient. As members of Holy Mountain's enforcement, they loathed those who would mindlessly massacre innocents. If not for the need to take him back to claim merit, they would have killed him directly. The other squad members shared the same sentiment. Thus, once Li Bao's cultivation was sealed and he was bound, they unceremoniously dragged him, preparing to return to Holy Mountain quickly. The return journey bore no complications. Holy Mountain's enforcement squads are widely reputed. Even major sects, upon encountering them, would treat them respectfully, not daring to cause trouble. For they represent Holy Mountain. In Holy Mountain, besides the 3 Saint Masters, there's someone even more formidable. Any sect involved in the assembly in Central State a decade ago knows how terrifying that person was. Hurrying along the road, the youth and others finally returned to Central State. Watching the distant, towering Holy Mountain, a fervor shone in their eyes. Chapter 742. Lu Qing leaves seclusion. Cultivation is difficult. Here is the translated text. HTML. The moment he saw the Holy Mountain, despair surfaced in Li Bao's eyes. On his way back to the Central State, he still fantasized that the sect might come to his rescue. After all, he was at least the son of the supreme elder of the Zhongshan sect. However, the calm along the way made him realize that the sect had completely abandoned him. Now all that awaited him was the judgment of the Holy Mountain. The members of the enforcement squad had no concern for Li Bao's thoughts. They hurried back to the Holy Mountain and handed Li Bao over to the people at the punishment hall. The rest of the matter had nothing to do with them. Their task this time was merely to capture Li Bao. As for the subsequent interrogation, that was the business of the punishment hall. But they could be certain that, after the punishment hall interrogated him and confirmed that he indeed killed the hundreds of people in Miao's village, that guy would absolutely not survive. The ban of the Holy Mountain is no joke. In the past decade, many strong figures tried to challenge the law, but so far, once any evil deed was exposed, not a single one escaped the punishment of the Holy Mountain. Even a Foundation Establishment Realm expert couldn't escape the capture of their enforcement squad. Senior brother, now that the task is complete, where are you going? We plan to go to the Merit Hall to see if there's anything to exchange for. Are you coming? After handing Li Bao over to the punishment hall, several other members of the enforcement squad asked the youth. I'm not going, you guys go ahead. At this thought, the youth's heart still ached a little. This task cost him a featherweight talisman and a thunder light talisman use, which was a significant depletion. The merit from capturing Li Bao couldn't make up for this loss. He thought for a moment and felt it was mainly because his strength was too poor. If his cultivation was at the innate realm early stage with the aid of the featherweight talisman, he would have captured Li Bao without using the thunder light talisman. So he felt it wasn't a good idea to take on any tasks recently. He should instead focus on cultivation to see if he could advance further. The other enforcement squad members, upon hearing this, exchanged glances. They knew their senior brother had incurred a loss with this task and must not be in a good mood. So they said no more, fearing they might upset him. After parting with a few junior brothers, the youth walked towards his residence. As members of the enforcement squad, they were qualified to live on the holy mountain. But their location was relatively low, near the foot of the mountain. Of course, given their innate realm entry-level cultivation, even if allowed higher, they couldn't endure it. The invisible pressure of the holy mountain becomes stronger the higher you go. Moreover, over the years, with the continuous recovery of spiritual energy, the invisible pressure on the holy mountain is also gradually strengthening. It would be fine for occasional visits to the mountain, but long-term residence, no matter if one is in the innate realm, cannot withstand such immense pressure continuously. Returning to his residence, as the youth was about to hang up the sign to decline visitors, he suddenly felt an overwhelming pressure emanating from the mountain. It made his heart and spirit tremble, and his limbs could not help but shake. What happened? The youth was shocked and immediately ran out of his residence to look up the mountain. But before he could discern anything, the terrifying pressure vanished, as if it had all been just an illusion. But the youth knew it was definitely not an illusion. The pressure just now was terrifying, much more than the aura of any major Golden Core realm figure he'd ever seen from afar. Whose aura was that? The three Saint Masters? Or could it be that the legendary figure has exited seclusion? At the thought of the legendary figure, the youth couldn't help but feel excited. There have always been rumors on the Holy Mountain that the legendary figure is in closed-door cultivation up there. But no one had seen this figure's true form in the Holy Mountain. Probably, no one aside from the three Saint Masters could verify if the rumor was true. Since the grand gathering 10 years ago, that figure has seldom appeared in the world, seemingly fading into silence. No one could confirm where he actually was. Now, feeling this sudden immense pressure reminded the youth of that rumor. There's quite a few on the Holy Mountain who share the youth's thoughts. Unfortunately, despite all the speculation, no one could go to verify it. The direction from which the pressure came was the highest point on the Holy Mountain. In that position, the Holy Mountain's invisible pressure had reached a terrifying degree. Even a Golden Core true man would find it hard to stay long. Cultivators below the Golden Core have no qualification to step foot there. So the vast majority of people who felt the pressure on the Holy Mountain could only keep it in their hearts and go about their own matters after a brief period of uncertainty. At the top of the Holy Mountain, within a cave mansion rich in spiritual energy, Lu Qing, who had just broken through and accidentally released a trace of aura, displayed a look of contemplation. Did this seclusion breakthrough take nearly a year? Such a long time spent just for a minor breakthrough in the realm. I fear stepping officially into the Golden Core fourth transition. I don't know how much longer that might take. Moreover, Lu Qing felt the spiritual energy within the cave mansion and looked helpless. Since breaking through to the Golden Core third transition, the spiritual energy in this holy mountain cave mansion has become less effective for me. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken 6 or 7 years just to cultivate from the Golden Core third transition to now the third transition perfection. Indeed, Lu Qing's breakthrough just now wasn't significant. It was merely cultivating the Golden Core third transition to perfection. 7 years ago, he had already entered the third transition realm. It took him a full 7 years to cultivate the third transition to perfection. The reason his cultivation speed slowed so much. The key reason was his foundation was too profound. The perfect Golden Core he refined already had an astonishingly deep foundation. Added to this, the 5 elements gourd and the 5 great spiritual pearls, these 2 exotic treasures, constantly nurtured his divine soul and physical body, enhancing his talent and potential further, reaching an unprecedented degree. But with such profound foundation and talent, there were drawbacks. Each advancement in his cultivation realm required enormous resources. Moreover, since he refined a perfect Golden Core, his mana was inherently incredibly pure. Upon initially entering the Golden Core realm, The purity of his mana was comparable to that of a top-grade golden core of the second or third transition. After reaching the golden core third transition, the purity of his mana further reached an unimaginably high level for ordinary golden core cultivators. Such pure mana required vast amounts of spiritual energy to refine even a trace. To advance to the third transition perfection realm required vast amounts of spiritual energy, a quantity fit to be called immense. Only in this holy mountain cave mansion, combined with the help of the 5 elements gourd, his life-bound magical treasure, that assisted in refining and concentrating his mana. Otherwise, the time needed to achieve the third transition perfection would probably be several times more. Yet it ends here. Upon reaching the third transition perfection, Lu Qing felt the spiritual energy in the cave mansion became even less effective for him. The thought of stepping into the fourth transition seemed incredibly difficult. Chapter 743. Messaging Information, Redeeming Spiritual Objects. Forget it. The boat will naturally straighten when it reaches the bridge. After sighing for a while, Lu Qing calmed his mind. These situations were actually within his expectations. After all, his starting point was really too high, the power of the perfect golden core was too mighty, and the revival speed of this world couldn't keep up with his cultivation speed. It was expected that cultivation would be difficult. He possessed a superpower and many exotic treasures that could assist in cultivation. Otherwise, the cultivation time might have to be extended tenfold or more. After calming his mind, Lu Qing took out the communication jade token. This time it was a long retreat breakthrough, and he wondered whether anyone had messaged him. Detecting through his heart and spirit, Lu Qing found quite a few messages. The first message was from his mentor, sent half a year ago. It said he had recently traveled the world and discovered a strange flower that could be used to concoct a very potent detoxification powder, which was mild in potency and could be consumed by ordinary people. He could study it together once he returned to the village later. Following it were messages from Wei Shanhai and Lin Jirue and others. Most of them were about recent happenings with nothing extraordinary. Besides these, the person who sent messages most frequently was Little Yen. The little girl was recently traveling, and she took Little Li and 5 elements with her. Whenever they reached a place or encountered something interesting, Little Yen would message Lu Qing to share the experience. Thus, the communication jade token mostly contained tales from Little Yen. For instance, what delicious food she found at a place, or like discovering a beautifully blooming spirit flower in some mountain grove. Although Little Yen mainly talked about mundane matters, Lu Qing read them with relish, and a smile would often appear on his face. In recent years, he spent most of his time in secluded cultivation on the holy mountain. The time he could spend with Little Yen had significantly reduced. Now seeing the little girl play happily outside, he was indeed gratified. However, as he kept reading, Lu Qing's brows began to furrow slightly, because in the subsequent messages, he noticed Little Yen seemed to be traveling with a few peers. She started mentioning them more frequently, and the words indicated very good relations with those people. Is it really a chance encounter, or an intentional approach? Lu Qing was somewhat doubtful. Immediately, he sank his heart and spirit, calling according to the trace of sensing in his divine soul. 5 elements. In the distance, the colorful winged snake nestled in Little Yen's hood suddenly awakened. Its eyes showed joy. "Master, is it you?" "Indeed. Where are you, Little Yen and Little Li, right now?" Lu Qing asked in his heart and spirit. 5 elements, enslaved by his divine soul, allowing communication anywhere in this world given Lu Qing's current cultivation. This was why Lu Qing was comfortable with Little Yen traveling outside. Not only because there were 5 elements and Little Li to protect. Should anything happen, 5 elements could summon him via the divine soul enslavement mark. "Master, we are now in a small state called Lin State in the northern borderlands," responded 5 elements in heart. In these past 10 years, the colorful winged snake eventually learned to communicate using human language, allowing seamless conversation with Lu Qing. "I just emerged from retreat today and saw Little Yan's message about you recently traveling with several people. Who are they? Are they trustworthy?" "Yes, Master. The colorful winged snake thought for a moment, answering, "The young mistress indeed has been traveling with some young people currently. These people seem to come from different sects with decent cultivation, above the innate minor achievement realm. As for their character, both little Li and I have not detected any ill intentions yet." Hearing this, Lu Qing felt more at ease. 5 elements may perceive incorrectly, but he trusted little Li completely. Little Li's sensing ability was extraordinarily mystical. If those people truly harbored ill intentions toward little Yen, it would be tough to escape its perception. Nonetheless, understanding the unpredictability of people's hearts, Lu Qing instructed the winged snake cautiously. "No matter what, be attentive and protect little Yen." "Understood, master. Little Li and I always stay beside the young mistress, without exposing our power. Even the young mistress herself only displays strength at the innate realm. Those people are unaware of our true strength." 5 elements said in heart. "Good. Keep it up. I'll find you once I finish my tasks. And don't mention my contact with you to little Yen for now." Having heard little Yen did not fully reveal her own strength, Lu Qing was completely relieved. Indeed, he understood his worry was somewhat excessive. Over these 10 years, the little girl's cultivation had progressed swiftly too. Now she was a strong cultivator at foundation building great success. Even within the entire cultivation world, she could be considered truly adept. Additionally, she carried many treasures given by him, and with little Li and others with her. Even true Golden Core realm cultivators might not easily prevail against them in a short time. After ending the mind-heart link with the winged snake, Lu Qing resumed browsing the communication jade token. Suddenly, upon seeing the last message, he first froze, then showed joy. Has that old dragon turtle finally made up its mind? Throughout these years, Lu Qing had contacted that old dragon turtle a few times. During the interaction, he proposed exchanging some bloodline with the old dragon turtle. Initially, the old dragon turtle flatly refused. However, upon hearing Lu Qing's offer later, it hesitated. Now it seems that it has finally made sense. Just right, the spiritual charm in this holy mountain cave mansion is not so effective for me now. I can go to the East Sea to see if there's any treasure that can help with my cultivation. Lu Qing thought about it and was about to leave the cave to go to the East Sea. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside. "Lu Xiaodao, have you left your retreat?" Lu Qing recognized the voice as that of the first Saint Master and immediately exited the cave mansion. "It's been a long time, Saint Master Senior. Indeed, just now I sensed your presence, and we speculated that Lu Xiaodao would have left his retreat." Outside the cave mansion, all 3 Saint Masters were present, and the first Saint Master smiled. "Apologies for not controlling my aura and disturbing all 3 Saint Masters," Lu Qing said apologetically. "No need to say that, Lu Xiaodao." The first Saint Master waved his hand repeatedly. "But if even you couldn't completely control your aura, it seems this retreat has yielded a significant harvest. Just a minor breakthrough. It's not worth mentioning." Lu Qing smiled. "Lu Xiaodao, you're overly modest." On hearing this, the 3 Saint Masters couldn't help but be shocked. Indeed, Lu Qing had made another breakthrough. But what realm he has reached this time remains unknown. The real cultivation realm of Lu Qing has always been inscrutable to the 3 Saint Masters. Regardless of when they face Lu Qing, there is only one feeling they have. That is deep and unfathomable, hard to speculate. And with strength so terrifying, Lu Qing can still occasionally make breakthroughs. This made the 3 Saint Masters truly sigh with admiration. No doubt, he is the first tribulation crossing person after the world changed, an exceptional genius of this era. Over the past 10 years, their own cultivation realms had progressed somewhat. Like the first Saint Master has stepped into the second transformation of the Golden Core realm, while the second and third Saint Masters are nearing perfection in the first transformation. Their cultivation progress cannot be said to be slow. But compared to Lu Qing's frequent retreat breakthroughs, the difference is really quite large. "By the way, what brings the 3 seniors to find me?" Lu Qing then asked. "It's like this. This booklet records various spiritual objects collected by Holy Mountain disciples throughout the year. It's rare for Lu Xiaodao to leave his retreat, so we brought it for you to have a look. The second Saint Master then handed over a booklet. Oh, let me take a look. Lu Qing took the booklet and began to browse through it. Ever since the Holy Assembly 10 years ago, where various sect forces discussed and established the Forbidden Decree, Holy Mountain has been dedicated to maintaining the decree's authority. Whenever a cultivator is found to violate the decree, disciples are dispatched to arrest and interrogate them immediately. Once the crime is confirmed, punishment is meted out without mercy, even if the person violating the decree is a disciple of a major sect. Arresting criminals involves considerable risk, and Holy Mountain certainly doesn't allow its disciples to take risks without rewards. Thus, Holy Mountain has always maintained a complete merit system. Disciples who successfully arrest criminals receive a certain merit reward. The merits can be exchanged for various cultivation techniques or spiritual objects and magic artifacts. Likewise, if disciples acquire spiritual objects that they can't use, they can also submit them to Holy Mountain. The objects are converted into merit, which can then be exchanged for other desired things. 10 years ago, Lu Qing accidentally learned about Holy Mountain's merit system and became interested. As the world changes and spiritual energy continues to recover, various spiritual objects will endlessly emerge. Even secret realms that disappeared tens of thousands of years ago will gradually resurface. Since Lu Qing frequently needs to go into retreat for cultivation, he clearly has little time to gather spiritual objects. But if he could utilize Holy Mountain's merit system, he could have the disciples collect the spiritual objects he needs. At that time, Lu Qing proposed to the 3 Saint Masters to place some items in the merit hall to exchange for Holy Mountain's merits. The 3 Saint Masters naturally had no objection, and even welcomed it greatly. The 3 of them cannot leave Holy Mountain in person and can only go out with a puppet Dharma body. Prior to spiritual energy recovery, it was easy for the puppet Dharma body to collect treasures given its strength. But now, the situation has long changed, and the puppet Dharma body can no longer dominate as before. Moreover, they themselves need to focus on cultivation and rarely have time to go out. So the treasures they could provide to Holy Mountain disciples gradually became inadequate. If Lu Qing could join, it would be a boon, alleviating their urgent needs. Thus, Lu Qing became part of Holy Mountain's merit system. The items he placed in the merit hall weren't anything else but various talismans. Initially, he planned to engrave talismans with little effort and as a chance to cultivate the rune path. If he could exchange them for some needed spiritual objects, it would be a pleasant surprise. Unexpectedly, when Lu Qing placed the talismans into the merit hall, they were well received by the Holy Mountain disciples. They even became the most popular treasures for disciples to exchange for. After all, activating talismans doesn't require high cultivation, and a powerful talisman can significantly enhance a cultivator's combat strength, even allowing them to fight across realms. Such treasures, who wouldn't like them? Precisely because talismans were so popular, over the years the merit Lu Qing accumulated surpassed the 3 Saint Masters. He became the one with the most merits in the entire Holy Mountain. However, apart from the 3 Saint Masters, very few others knew about this. The majority of Holy Mountain disciples still believed that these talismans were provided by the 3 Saint Masters. Lu Qing continued browsing through the booklet, marking the spiritual objects he wanted. However, most of the spiritual objects in the booklet were quite ordinary and were of little use to him, until he reached the last page and saw an item that suddenly brightened his eyes. Chapter 744. Soul Sculpting Mud, Bloodline Exchange. Soul Sculpting Mud. Could a disciple actually find such a thing? Lu Qing looked at the spiritual objects recorded in the booklet with surprise. Not long ago, a small secret realm opened in a remote small state. A disciple ventured inside and obtained it by luck. The disciple didn't know the use of this spirit mud and found it peculiar, so he offered it to exchange for merit. The 1st Saint Master explained. So it was obtained from a secret realm, no wonder. Lu Qing realized. He thought so, soul sculpting mud as such a spiritual object couldn't be easily found. But if it was from a secret realm, that would make sense. The secret realm is one of the strongest fortuities in this world, producing all sorts of mystical treasures. 3 seniors. I would like to exchange for this soul-sculpting mud. May I? Lu Qing said immediately. Of course you can, Lu Xiaodao. Your merit is the highest in the Holy Mountain. You may exchange for any spiritual object as you wish. The first Saint Master nodded directly, and then curiously asked, Lu Xiaodao, do you want this soul-sculpting mud to refine a puppet Dharma body? Indeed. Lu Qing did not deny it. The third Saint Master once gave me a legacy of the puppet sect, which I was quite interested in and always wanted to try refining. But due to the lack of materials, it was put aside, and I didn't expect to see this soul-sculpting mud today. In the legacy left by the ancient immortal sect's puppet sect, there are quite a few materials that can be used to refine puppets. But those spiritual objects are very hard to find. So Lu Qing never tried to refine a puppet Dharma body. Until today when he saw this soul-sculpting mud. Soul-sculpting mud is an excellent main material for refining a puppet Dharma body. 1 grade higher than the materials used by the 3 Saint Masters for their puppet Dharma bodies. If refined properly, the resulting puppet Dharma body would undoubtedly have considerable power. Should I have someone deliver this soul-sculpting mud to you later? The first Saint Master asked. There's no hurry. I need to go out for a while, and I'll retrieve the soul-sculpting mud when I return. Very well. The first Saint Master nodded and didn't ask what Lu Qing was going out to do. In the Holy Mountain, Lu Qing had the most freedom of movement. Even the 3 Saint Masters never inquired about his whereabouts. After bidding farewell to the 3 Saint Masters, Lu Qing turned into a stream of light and soared into the azure darkness, flying toward the East Sea. It didn't take long before he was above the ocean deep within the 10,000 miles of the East Sea. Lu Qing did not hide his aura, so when he arrived, the immense form of the old dragon turtle slowly surfaced. Senior Dragon Turtle, long time no see. Lu Qing smiled and said, Nearly 10 years have passed, Mr. Lu, and your cultivation has become deeper. The old dragon turtle sensed Lu Qing's aura and a hint of surprise appeared in its eyes, although it still couldn't see through Lu Qing's actual realm. But as a once primordial spirit great power, a gut feeling told it that Lu Qing had become stronger. It even faintly sensed a dangerous aura from Lu Qing. Evidently, in these 10 years, Lu Qing's cultivation must have made great progress, to the point of being able to threaten it. This human race is truly heaven's favored. Though born weak, when they truly cultivate, their strength grows much faster than our exotic spirit beasts. The old dragon turtle couldn't help but sigh in its heart. The last cultivation era was the same. It took it over 20,000 years of arduous cultivation to finally enter the primordial spirit realm. However, many geniuses of the human race often took only a few hundred to 1,000 years to achieve the primordial spirit. The speed of cultivation is indeed much faster than that of our exotic spirit beasts. This is also why when Lu Qing wanted its bloodline, the old dragon turtle did not become enraged. Besides the tempting conditions Lu Qing offered, it didn't want to become enemies with such a mysterious, unfathomable, and infinitely potential peerless genius. Senior Dragon Turtle, you mentioned in your message that you are willing to trade with me. Is that true? Lu Qing asked at this moment. Yes, but of course, the premise is that what you use for the trade is enough to move my heart, the old dragon turtle said in a deep voice. Rest assured, I won't let you down, Senior Dragon Turtle. Lu Qing finished speaking and sent out a jade scroll, which fell below. The old dragon turtle caught the jade scroll. With heart and spirit, it probed inside and found recorded a small star map, brilliant and dazzling. Senior Dragon Turtle, this jade scroll contains a small portion of a star map, which I obtained from a celestial outsider I once slaughtered. It records the positions of the starry sky of many worlds beyond. Having experienced the previous cultivation era, you should know. Our cultivators, after stepping into the primordial spirit realm, find it extremely difficult to make progress in cultivation, their steps faltering. The root cause is that the origin of our world is not strong enough to nurture strong practitioners beyond the initial realm of the primordial spirit. Therefore, after entering the primordial spirit realm, if one wishes to make a breakthrough, the best way is to leave this world and enter a stronger world for cultivation. Otherwise, staying in this world, one will only face the heavenly human five decays, the calamity of spiritual energy exhaustion, every tens of thousands of years. But the starry sky is vast, and the dangers and unknowns are countless. Without the guidance of a star map, even a primordial spirit great power can easily get lost in the starry sky. If the senior is willing to trade, I will hand over the star map of our world's region to you. The old dragon turtle gazed at the small piece of the star map inside the jade scroll, listening to Lu Qing's words, and fell silent. Especially the notion about the cultivation of the primordial spirit realm, which shook its heart greatly. As an old dragon turtle who had experienced the rise and fall of an entire cultivation era, it naturally knew that what Lu Qing said was true. At the height of the last cultivation era, it had already stepped into the primordial spirit realm. But for thousands of years until the end of the cultivation era, its cultivation realm made limited progress. Because after entering the primordial spirit realm, its cultivation became exponentially obscure. It was like groping in the dark, extremely difficult to advance. And it wasn't just it, even the two human race primordial spirit practitioners it knew had the same trouble. It had discussed with those two human race primordial spirit practitioners, and the conclusion they reached was similar to what Lu Qing just said. The origin of this world cannot support their breakthrough to higher realms. This is what made their cultivation unusually obscure and their steps faltering. But if not cultivating in this world, what else could they do? In the previous cultivation era, some primordial spirit great powers did attempt to traverse layers of celestial gale, break through the boundary membrane, and explore the starry sky. However, they found the vast starry sky to be void. The vastness of the starry sky surpassed imagination. Without the replenishment of spiritual energy, they couldn't go far. Ultimately, they either returned without success or got lost in the starry sky, their soul lamp extinguished. This is also why at the end of the last cultivation era, those human clan cultivators chose to build the Breaking Realm ship. Because relying solely on individuals, even the primordial spirit realm great powers found it hard to survive in the starry sky. Regarding the vast starry sky, the cultivators of their world knew very little. This is precisely why when the old dragon turtle heard that Lu Qing possessed a star map of the outer starry sky, it agreed to trade with him. If what Lu Qing said was true, that star map would be extremely precious. Gazing at the fragment of star coordinates recorded in the Jade Scroll, the old dragon turtle knew Lu Qing did not deceive it. Pondered for a while and finally spat out 3 jade bottles from its mouth. Inside are 3 portions of my refined true blood. According to our agreement, this should suffice to exchange for the star map in your possession. Chapter 745. Successful Transaction. Reunion. The 3 jade bottles slowly rose up, floating in front of Lu Qing. Lu Qing took them, opened one, and sensed the surging energy and rich life essence within, nodding slightly. After a brief inspection, he stored the jade bottle into the universe pouch and flicked out another jade scroll, which landed toward the old dragon turtle. Senior Dragon Turtle, contained here is the complete star map of our starry sky region. With the guidance of this star map, if you wish to enter the starry sky in the future, you should not get lost in the vastness. The old dragon turtle caught the jade scroll, used its heart and spirit to inspect, and was delighted to find a star map far more complete and complex than the previous one. But upon seeing the star map's details, it was taken aback. Is our world truly so far from the next life world? In the star map provided by Lu Qing, their world was represented by a faint light dot. Not only was it at the extreme edge of the map, but it was also surrounded by large areas of dark void. It seemed as though their world was isolated and lonely amidst the starry sky. Indeed, our world is positioned at the edge of the starry sky, very distant from other life worlds. Lu Qing confirmed in response to the old dragon turtle's exclamation. No wonder in the previous cultivation era, those who ventured into the starry sky in the primordial spirit realm either returned without success or were lost in the stars. After thoroughly examining the star map, The old dragon turtle felt relieved. Condensing 3 portions of true blood was no easy task for it. Even with its primordial spirit realm physical body, it was unavoidable to experience a period of weakness after creating 3 portions of true blood. Fortunately, over the past decade of spiritual energy recovery, no sea clan capable of threatening it had appeared in the deep sea. Otherwise, it would never have agreed to Lu Qing's request. Initially, it felt heartache over its 3 portions of true blood. But now, realizing the benefits of the deal, it understood that it had not suffered at all. After regaining its cultivation, if it wished to advance further, remaining in this world was certainly not viable. According to Lu Qing's star map, without its guidance, it would likely face the same fate as the pioneers of the previous cultivation era. Returning without results or getting lost in the stars, unable to find the next life world. Understanding this, the old dragon turtle's heart calmed down. The star map was of great utility, and the sacrifice of a few portions of recoverable true blood was entirely worthwhile. Senior Dragon Turtle, did this deal not make you suffer? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Lu Qing knew very well the value of the star map. While it might not be of significant value in the outside world and could be purchased casually, for the cultivators of their world, the star map was a beacon of guidance, with immense value. Indeed, the star map is of high value. The old dragon turtle did not deny it. If that's the case, then I shall take my leave. Seeing the old dragon turtle satisfied with the deal, Lu Qing felt at ease. After bidding farewell to the old dragon turtle, Lu Qing did not return to the Holy Mountain but headed north, entering the Northern Territories. The 5 elements mentioned that Little Yen and the others were in a small province called Lin State. Upon entering the Northern Territories, Lu Qing immersed his heart and spirit into his forehead acupoint, sensing the location of the 5-colored winged snake. The 5-colored winged snake was his enslaved spiritual beast, and as long as the distance was not too far, he could sense its position. Over there. Soon, through the divine soul enslavement mark, Lu Qing sensed the location of the 5-colored winged snake and flew toward it immediately. Are they at an inn? Upon arriving at the location of the 5-colored winged snake, Lu Qing found it was a small city, and the aura of the 5 elements was inside a building resembling an inn. At the same time, he also sensed the presence of Little Yen and Little Li. They were all in the same location. In their vicinity were several auras, the weakest of which had reached innate minor achievement. It seemed they were the companions Little Yen mentioned in her messages. The little girl is quite diligent, Lu Qing observed from above. He saw that Little Yen lived in a separate small courtyard, which was slightly pulsating with spiritual energy, indicating the little girl was cultivating inside. He slowly descended, and his face underwent subtle changes, the muscles slightly adjusting to make his appearance only somewhat similar to his original. During the descent, no one could detect Lu Qing's presence. Only when he reached the courtyard did he dispel the spell, revealing a trace of his aura. As soon as this aura emerged, Little Li and the 5 elements inside sensed it and immediately came rushing out. Seeing Lu Qing in the courtyard, they all exclaimed in surprise. King! Master! They immediately dashed toward him. One stood on Lu Qing's shoulder, rubbing its head against his. The other circled around Lu Qing, occasionally nudging his pant leg. Little Li, 5 elements, what's happening? At this moment, a clear voice sounded from inside the house. Soon after, a charming maiden with a complexion like ice and snow, resembling an elf, walked out. When she saw Lu Qing comforting Little Li and the 5 elements in the courtyard, she was initially stunned. Then slowly, disbelief filled her face. Brother! What? Just a year apart and you no longer recognize your brother? Lu Qing joked. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Little Yen finally confirmed it truly was her brother. Her face filled with delight. She immediately dashed toward him. Brother, it's really you. Now being a powerful cultivator in the foundation establishment stage, Little Yen flew toward him, even using a movement technique. In an instant, she reached Lu Qing, hugged him, and buried her head in his chest. Feeling the slightly trembling shoulders of the little girl, a sense of guilt flashed through Lu Qing's heart. He gently placed his hand on the head of her dark hair, soothing his sister. "All right, you're a big girl now. Why are you still crying so easily? Brother, why have you taken so long to visit little Yen?" The little girl buried her head in Lu Qing's chest, unwilling to lift it, asked sullenly. Her tone carried a trace of sobbing. "It's my fault, but now I've finished my retreat, and I will have a lot of time to spend with little Yen." "Really?" Upon hearing this, little Yen lifted her head, her eyes full of joy. Seeing the tear marks on her face, Lu Qing reached out and wiped them for her. He smiled and said, "Of course it's true, and your cultivation has greatly progressed now. Even if I retreat in the future, I can take you along." Previously, he did not take little Yen to the holy mountain because her cultivation was not strong enough. The place where he retreated exerted too much pressure and was unsuitable for the little girl to stay long. But now, she was a foundation establishment stage cultivator. She could go to the holy mountain for some training. Upon hearing Lu Qing's assurance, little Yan's smile became even brighter. Just as she was about to say something, suddenly, an angry shout rang out. "Thief! Let go of little Yen's sister!" Accompanying the shout, a fierce sword chi was thrust toward Lu Qing. Chapter 746. Intimidation. Strange incident. "Zhao Feng, don't!" Just as the sword chi was released, another exclamation rang out. But it was already too late, and the fierce sword chi was about to reach Lu Qing in the blink of an eye. However, perhaps for fear of hurting little Yen, the sword chi did not aim at his vital parts but only went for his arm. In the midst of the exclamation, the sword chi was about to pierce Lu Qing. Suddenly, a slender figure appeared in front of Lu Qing, flicking its tail lightly, shattering the sword chi to pieces. Then the figure moved even faster than the sword chi, instantly appearing in front of the young man who had released the sword chi. A terrifying aura enveloped the area, freezing his heart and spirit, just when the furious colorful winged snake was about to kill the one daring to harm its master. Lu Qing's calm voice sounded, "5 elements. Come back." The colorful winged snake's body froze. It wanted to kill the reckless youth in front of it, but its master's order was absolute. Ultimately, it could only give the youth a cold glance and return to Lu Qing's side, restraining its aura. But the aura the colorful winged snake had just exuded was already imprinted in the young man's heart and spirit. Even though the 5 elements had returned, his eyes were still filled with fear. His body was stiff, his limbs trembling. He even couldn't hold the sword in his hand steadily, which dropped to the ground with a thud. By this time, Lu Qing had released little Yen. He looked over there and saw several youths and young women of a similar age standing at the courtyard entrance. However, their expressions were now filled with shock, especially their eyes toward the colorful winged snake, which were filled with disbelief as if they were looking at a monster. They were obviously completely intimidated by the aura the 5 elements had released. They never expected that the little snake, always sleeping beside little Yen, could unleash such a terrifying aura. "Little Yen, are these your friends?" Lu Qing asked. Little Yen wiped the tears from the corner of her eye, feeling somewhat embarrassed. "Yes, they are friends I met while traveling recently." Then she said to the others, "Senior brother Zhao, you misunderstood. This is not an evil person. He's my brother." "Brother?" The few people slowly came to their senses and were surprised again. They then noticed that Lu Qing and little Yen indeed had a few facial similarities. At this point, they became embarrassed. The siblings were having a reunion, but they appeared at an inappropriate time and even attacked. This matter cannot merely be described as impolite, especially the youth who attacked, wishing he could find a hole to hide in. Looking at the few embarrassed people, Lu Qing smiled. He said in a gentle tone, "I am Chen Qing. Nice to meet you, young heroes, and thanks for taking care of my sister these days." From the messages little Yen sent, Lu Qing already knew she was using the alias Chen Yen while traveling, so he simply used the alias Chen Qing as well. After all, his real name was quite conspicuous. Ordinary cultivators might not know it, but many in the major sect likely knew his real name. Along with Little Yan's name, it had probably drawn attention from many. Therefore, she used an alias when going out. The chosen surname Chun was from their master's surname, so it wasn't entirely random. It turns out you are Little Yan's senior brother. I am Mu Tian, and these are Wu Wenyuan, Qin Wuxue, and Zhao Feng. Seeing that Lu Qing seemed unbothered by the previous event, they all breathed a sigh of relief. The steady-looking young man introduced everyone's names to Lu Qing. Greetings, Brother Chen. The other three all saluted Lu Qing, especially Zhao Feng, whose face flushed red. Brother Chan, sorry. I didn't do it on purpose earlier. I thought you were? Although, according to their sensing, Lu Qing was merely at the great success of the innate realm. But at this moment, none dared treat him as a typical innate realm expert. After all, the terrifying aura released by the 5 elements was still imprinted on their heart and spirit. The one who could command a spiritual pet of such power couldn't be an ordinary person. Thinking of this, they discreetly glanced at the colorful winged snake being so amicable toward Lu Qing, and literally cuddled in Lu Qing's embrace. They were not unfamiliar with Little Yan's 2 spiritual pets. During their travels over several months, they'd seen them every day. Yet, Little Yan's 2 spiritual pets always had a very aloof attitude. Especially the black little beast, it ignored everyone except Little Yan. No one had been able to touch them even after months of acquaintance. Little Yan explained that these spiritual pets were shy of strangers, not liking to be touched. Besides these surprises, they hadn't paid much attention. Because, in their sensing, these spiritual pets were not powerful, devoid of special traits except strong spiritual nature. They speculated Little Yan might be the young lady of some family power. No one thought that the small snake, usually tucked in Little Yan's hood, could release such a devastating aura. When the aura of the 5 elements burst forth, they genuinely thought they might die. Now they understood why the 5 elements ignored them daily. It wasn't because they were unfamiliar, but because the spiritual beast vastly surpassed them in strength. Such a being would naturally not care about them. With the 5 elements being so terrifying, the little Li, who occasionally clawed at it, must also be extraordinary. And to carry such mighty spiritual pets while traveling, alongside a mysterious brother. Little Yan's identity might indeed be as they initially speculated. Likely the core descendant of a top-tier family power. The few people's subtle actions naturally could not escape Lu Qing's sight. Inadvertently, he had already used his superpower to gather their background information. As the 5 elements previously stated, these people were indeed all disciples from various sects. According to the information on the note, they were righteous disciples, not people with malicious intent. However, when Lu Qing saw the note regarding the young man named Zhao Feng who had attacked him, his expression froze, and then a trace of strangeness flickered in his eyes. But he quickly suppressed that strangeness and didn't say anything. By the way, Brother Mu, what brought you over here to find me? At this moment, Little Yan suddenly asked. Little Yan, you forgot? Today we need to visit Qiu family village and investigate the mysterious disappearances of villagers there. Among the 4, the only female Qin Wuxue spoke. Oh, I almost forgot about that, Little Yan exclaimed. What about the villagers' disappearances? Lu Qing inquired. Chapter 747. Qiu Family Village, Terrifying Mummified Corpse. Are you saying that in recent months, in some rural parts of Lin State, there have been instances of villagers mysteriously disappearing from time to time? In the courtyard of the inn, Lu Qing was somewhat surprised after listening to Mu Tian and the others' account. Yes, brother, initially this matter went unnoticed. But a few days ago, when we first arrived in Lin State, we inadvertently saved a farmer who had fallen off a cliff and was unconscious. He said that people have been frequently disappearing in their village recently, and the villagers are now in a state of panic. His wife and children have gone missing, and in his desperation to find them, he traveled extensively and ultimately fell off a cliff by accident. Fortunately, he was stopped by an old tree, which saved him from falling to his death. After we sent the farmer to the medical clinic, we went to his village to investigate. We discovered that in the rural areas of Lin State, in the past 6 months, many villages have experienced similar disappearances. That's why we've been staying here to try to uncover what exactly is happening. And today, we plan to go to a place near the city called Chiu Family Village. Such things happened here? Have you found out anything? Lu Qing asked. We don't have many leads yet. At this moment, Mu Tian shook his head. We can only preliminarily determine that this matter is man-made and not a natural disaster. The person involved uses strange and secretive methods, not typical of a righteous individual. The greatest possibility is that some evil cultivator is practicing some sort of evil technique. An evil cultivator, huh? Lu Qing nodded, acknowledging Mu Tian's inference. With the continuous recovery of spiritual energy, many relics from the previous cultivation era have gradually revealed themselves. Among them are those left by cultivators of the ancient practices of the evil demon path. Consequently, in recent years, some evil cultivators have emerged across the world. These evil cultivators, in order to cultivate their evil techniques, have committed numerous heinous acts. However, from ancient times, righteousness and evil have always been at odds, and after stirring up trouble for a while, these cultivators faced a joint crackdown by the major sects. After shining for 2 years, they nearly disappeared again. Unexpectedly, traces of evil cultivators have once again appeared in this remote Lin State. So, is there something special about this Chiu family village that you plan to visit? Lu Qing continued to ask. We heard that just the other day, 2 villagers went missing in the Chiu family village, and it is probably the latest village where the evil cultivator appeared. So we plan to take a look, Mu Tian replied. Brother, would you like to come with us? Little Yen asked. At these words, Mu Tian and the others immediately looked at Lu Qing. They were all very curious about Little Yan's suddenly appearing, seemingly very mysterious brother. If he came along, perhaps they might uncover something, who knows? Lu Qing pondered for a moment. He originally came this time intending to take Little Yen and them away. He had just made a deal with the old dragon turtle for 3 portions of true blood. These 3 portions, containing the bloodline of the ancient exotic beast Swanee, should be greatly beneficial to Little Li and the 5 elements. Now, hearing of such matters, he felt it wasn't good to just leave directly. After thinking for a while, Lu Qing said, Very well. I'll go with you to have a look. Little Yan's eyes immediately lit up. But Lu Qing continued, However, Little Yan, this is your training, and until it's necessary, I won't intervene lightly. Whatever happens, you must handle it yourself, so that your brother can see whether you have been slacking in your cultivation these days. Okay. Little Yen agreed quickly. Filled with enthusiasm, she intended to show her brother that even while he was in seclusion on the holy mountain, she had been diligently cultivating. Mu Tian and the others also smiled upon hearing those words. According to what they had learned from the sect's records, the methods of evil cultivators were always bizarre. With such a mysterious and powerful figure as Little Yan's brother joining them, they felt more confident. Thus, next, they all checked out of the inn and proceeded towards Chiu Family Village. The distance of Chiu Family Village from the city was not close, but among the group, even the weakest in cultivation was a cultivator at the innate realm early stage. Before the spiritual energy recovery, that would have been equivalent to the combat power of a top sect. Even though it has been quite a while since the spiritual energy recovery, the innate realm is still considered strong in the cultivation world. Their pace was naturally not slow. After performing their movement technique, their speed increased, and half an hour later, the group arrived in front of a village. Brother Chun, up ahead is the Chiu family village. Mu Tian took out a map, looked at it for a while, and confirmed. Let's go in then. Lu Qing looked ahead, a hint of an unnoticeable strange light flashing in his eyes. Could it be that they really stumbled upon something? The group moved towards the village. Upon entering, they were immediately shocked by the scene before them. The village, previously silent, had wisps of black gas lingering in the air. Most importantly, many corpses lay sprawled across the village path. All were in a mummified state, their faces twisted and hideous, clearly having endured immense pain and torture before their deaths. This, Mu Tian and the others, seeing such a horrifying scene, were instantly frightened, retreating continuously. They couldn't even utter a word for a while. Seeing this, Lu Qing couldn't help but shake his head slightly. The recovery of spiritual energy has made cultivation much easier. Even the innate realm is no longer as difficult to break through as it once was. But similarly, the ease of cultivation has left many cultivators lacking enough tempering. Like Mu Tian and the others, although their strength isn't weak, equaling the top combat power of some major sects before the spiritual energy recovery, their disposition leaves much to be desired. It's just a few corpses in a more gruesome state, and they are scared like this. This composure is far inferior even to those postnatal realm martial arts grandmasters he once met. After lamenting slightly in his heart, Lu Qing turned his gaze back to the mummified corpses in front of him. Earlier, outside the village, he had already sensed that the village was eerily quiet, as if no one was left. However, he hadn't expected that all the people in Chou family village had been killed, and it was by having their spirit drained dry, dying after experiencing severe pain. Looking at one corpse in women's clothing, still holding a small corpse in its arms, Lu Qing's gaze gradually grew colder. "Brother, this is..." Among the few, little Yen remained calm. After all, from a young age, when she traveled to the central state with Lu Qing and others, during battles and killings, she had seen countless corpses already. And in recent years in Jili village, she often helped the elder doctor treat wounds for patients. The scene before her, though terrifying, was not enough to frighten her. "I said I wouldn't intervene. You must learn to handle these matters yourself," Lu Qing said calmly. Hearing this, little Yen stopped asking questions. She began to carefully observe the corpses on the ground. She had already noticed earlier that these mummified corpses seemed somewhat unusual. Seeing the siblings so calm, Mu Tian and the others gradually composed themselves, and felt a pang of embarrassment. They had been so out of sorts just because of some mummified corpses. Unlike even the youngest little Yen, it was really inexcusable. Just as they wanted to ask little Yen if she had discovered anything. Suddenly, a sinister voice rang out. Chapter 748. Powerful Evil Corpse, Corpse Refining Array. Heh. I didn't expect that after just having some dessert. A few more courses of a feast would arrive. I was just feeling a bit unsatisfied, and suddenly you little lambs have appeared. It seems my luck is changing for the better. A cold voice echoed within the village, but its position was elusive, leaving people unable to determine its exact location. Who? Mu Tian and the others were greatly alarmed. The voice was exceedingly chilly, seemingly containing some kind of spiritual attack that chilled their hearts and spirits. Heh. If you want to see my true form, then deal with these little darlings of mine first. The voice remained elusive, but as the voice fell, a terrifying scene unfolded before Mu Tian and the others. A wisp of black qi drifted by, and those corpses lying haphazardly along the village path suddenly began to move. Slowly they rose from the ground, enveloped in black qi, and began to close in on them. With ferocious faces, their hands drooped, nails elongated and tinged with black, like demons. Not good. It's the corpse refining evil technique. Mu Tian and the others were utterly shocked at such a horrifying spectacle. They were certain that these people had all been thoroughly dead before, with no sign of vitality. But now, these previously dead bodies had revived and were moving. There's only one explanation for this. They encountered an evil cultivator skilled in corpse refining technique. In past years, during the peak of evil demon cultivators, there appeared evil cultivators adept in corpse refining techniques, controlling dozens of corpses to besiege a small town, slaughtering thousands of civilians, shocking the world. Although that evil cultivator was later executed, the corpse refining evil technique left a deep impression on the sects that participated in the execution. Because the corpses controlled by that evil cultivator were incredibly powerful, not weaker than ordinary cultivators. Everyone be careful. These evil corpses refined by evil techniques are not only extremely strong but also as hard as iron, and their claws are imbued with deadly poison. Do not let them harm you. Otherwise, if corpse poison enters the body, even spiritual power will struggle to resist. Mu Tian immediately issued a warning. Just as he finished speaking, the once sluggish corpses suddenly went berserk. Their speed suddenly increased, and in an instant, they pounced at the group. The black claws sliced through the air, slashing at Mu Tian and the others. Their speed was not slower than that of a martial arts grandmaster at the postnatal realm perfection. Strike. Show no mercy. Their heads are their weak spots. Mu Tian shouted loudly, his long sword slicing through the air, cutting across the advancing corpses with waves of sword chi. Simultaneously, the others moved into action. In an instant, sword chi and strong energy burst forth, bombarding the surrounding evil corpses. Everyone heeded Mu Tian's words, directing most of their attacks towards the heads of the evil corpses. Only Lu Qing stood motionless, quietly staying in place. All present were at least powerful at the innate realm early stage. The lethality of their sword chi was unquestionable, and their control over power was equally strong. Although the evil corpses were not slow, they were, after all, still dead things, incapable of adapting. Thus, nearly all the attacks landed, pushing them back completely. However, after a series of dull sounds, Mu Tian and the others were startled to discover their sword chi, when slashing at the heads of the evil corpses, did not immediately split them open. It only left behind deep, bone-revealing scars, but could not completely destroy them. What? Mu Tian and the others were astonished, not expecting the skulls of these evil corpses to be so hard. Their sword chi couldn't pierce through. The evil corpses, unfazed by pain, merely shook their heads after being pushed back by the sword chi, then roared and charged again. Mu Tian and the others had no time to remain shocked, slashing out sword chi once more. This time, they pushed back the evil corpses again, leaving many more marks on their heads. But immediately, an even more shocking scene unfolded for Mu Tian and the others. Black chi surged from the evil corpses' bodies. Where it passed, the marks left by their sword chi healed rapidly. So troublesome? Seeing this, Mu Tian felt a sinking feeling in his heart. These evil corpses were far more formidable than he had anticipated. Though their prowess remained at the postnatal realm, their bodies were so hard that they could withstand their sword chi, truly terrifying. Moreover, their sheer numbers were daunting, and they all fought fearlessly. Even with backup plans, he still found them incredibly troublesome. What worried him even more was, with the ability to refine such terrifying entities, what level of power did the creator possess? At this thought, Mu Tian was already considering retreat. He immediately said, "Everyone, this evil cultivator is crafty and tough, hard to deal with. We should retreat for now." "All right." Zhao Feng and the others, also alarmed by the situation before them. No matter how they fought, these evil corpses wouldn't die, but if caught, corpse poison entering their body would be extremely troublesome. Moreover, with the hidden evil cultivator lurking around, they quickly agreed upon hearing Mu Tian's call for retreat. They put forth their efforts, slashing numerous sword chi once again, pushing back the evil corpses as they prepared to leave. Trying to run. "Have you asked for my permission?" However, how could the evil cultivator let them go so easily? With a cold snort, black light emerged around Qiu family village, accompanied by runes, sealing the entire village. "Not good. It's an array." Mu Tian saw this and his face drastically changed. He finally understood why these corpses were so strong. It turned out there was an array hidden, enhancing them secretly. "Some knowledge to know it's an array." That icy voice sounded in the dark. "Since that's the case, why not surrender quickly, or else I'll make you end up like these lowly people." "Everyone, we're in real trouble now. The enemy is likely a Foundation Establishment realm evil cultivator." Mu Tian's face turned steely blue. To lay down such a large-scale corpse refining array, The enemy was likely not just an innate realm evil cultivator but a Foundation Establishment Realm one. Foundation Establishment Realm. Upon hearing this, Zhao Feng and the others trembled, their eyes filled with horror. If the enemy was at the Foundation Establishment Realm, wouldn't they be trapped here? The power of the Foundation Establishment Realm was something everyone knew well. After all, in their respective sects, there were senior mentors at this level. Such power was completely unmatched by them. Oh, to guess my realm, young guys, are you sect disciples? Then you mustn't be kept alive. The cold voice in the dark seemed somewhat surprised. Realizing the identities of the people before him might not be ordinary, perhaps disciples of major sects. The evil cultivator's heart grew ruthless, realizing he couldn't play around any longer. Or else, if delayed, who knows if these fledglings might have some senior mentor nearby. As the evil cultivator chanted, the surrounding black light suddenly brightened. Chapter 749. Fury. These evil corpses can actually become stronger? Feeling the sudden surge of the evil corpse's aura, Mu Tian and the others' expressions changed again. At the same time, they became more certain that the hidden evil cultivator must be a Foundation Establishment stage cultivator. Otherwise, even a perfect innate realm evil cultivator would find it extremely difficult to set up such a powerful evil formation. Seeing the evil corpse's aura continuing to increase, Mu Tian knew they couldn't let this continue. He decided to take the initiative, striking first with a powerful sword chi, aiming it at the head of one of the evil corpses. But in the next moment, a crisp sound made his expression turn grim. His sword chi, when it struck the evil corpse's head, emitted a sound like steel colliding with steel. Though it could break through the evil corpse's flesh, the skull was completely unharmed, instead shattering his sword chi. The bones of these evil corpses had become harder than 1,000 refinement steel. Seeing Mu Tian's sword chi shatter, the others were equally shocked. Mu Tian was already the strongest among them. Even his sword chi was ineffective, making it unlikely they would have any effect. Everyone, there's no other way. Prepare to fight to the death. We have to go into close combat. Mu Tian, seeing the situation, forcibly calmed himself, speaking in a deep voice. He simultaneously took out an elixir from his arms, preparing to consume it. This was an elixir he specifically exchanged from the sect for when he descended the mountain to train. Upon consumption, it would send his spiritual power into a berserk state, greatly amplifying his strength in a short time. However, once the effects wore off, he would become extremely weakened, even less than a postnatal master. It required more than 10 days of recuperation to fully recover. It was an elixir not to be used easily except in times of dire need. Hearing Mu Tian's words, the others also took out their elixirs. Just now they only used sword chi to engage the enemy, as they feared the corpse poison on the evil corpses. But now, as sword chi was ineffective and their retreat was blocked by the evil cultivator's array, they had no choice but to fight. They refused to believe that the skulls of these evil corpses could remain so hard against their treasure swords bolstered by spiritual power. Mu Tian swallowed the elixir in one gulp, activating his heart and spirit to quickly dissolve the medicinal power. In the next moment, he instantly felt his spiritual power become berserk, with powerful strength surging within. Knowing the elixir's duration was short, Mu Tian did not hesitate, shaking his long sword and propelling himself forward to attack the evil corpses that were still absorbing the dark energy. The others saw this and similarly swallowed their elixirs, charging forward. At this moment, Mu Tian, who had led the attack, reached an evil corpse, thrusting with his sword. With spiritual power infused, the sword was sharp, its speed reaching the extreme. With just one thrust, the head of the evil corpse that the sword chi could not pierce was penetrated by him. The evil corpse he pierced through trembled, its dark energy dissipating, and it fell backward. It works! Seeing this, the few people following were overjoyed. They all drew their swords, each taking down one evil corpse. But at this time, the evil corpse's counterattack began. Each wielded their claws, closing in to surround Mu Tian and the others. Their claws stirred up gusts, their power and speed greatly increased. reaching the initial innate realm level. This Cho family village had quite a population, and there were at least dozens of evil corpses in the village. With dozens of innate realm-level evil corpses attacking together, even Mu Tian and the others felt immense pressure despite their considerable cultivation. Fortunately, these evil corpses were ultimately dead things. Although their speed and strength reached the innate realm level, their moves were quite crude. For the time being, Mu Tian and his companions could still hold their ground, intermittently slaying one evil corpse after another. However, with the surrounding dark energy growing thick, the surrounding evil corpses' strength also increased. Among them, they even began to coordinate, further heightening the pressure on Mu Tian and the others. Amidst the intense battle, things remained calm on Lu Qing's side. Though he exuded no aura, inexplicably, no evil corpse dared to approach this side. Unfortunately, Mu Tian and his group had no energy to notice this scene. "Brother!" Little Yen also did not follow Zhao Feng and the others forward, instead turning to Lu Qing. "Go ahead. Do what you wish to do." Lu Qing, seeing her thoughts, encouraged. "I understand, brother." With her brother's permission, Little Yen reassured herself, drew her long sword, and dashed, piercing the head of an evil corpse. "Junior sister Yen, be careful. These evil corpses are tough to deal with." Seeing Little Yen join, Mu Tian and the others shifted to let her merge into their formation. The little girl is still hiding her strength. Lu Qing, seeing this, smiled. Yet observing Mu Tian and his group's performance, he mildly nodded. These sect disciples, though their heart and spirit were somewhat lacking, had commendable character. At least when faced with a stronger evil cultivator, they dared to fight rather than surrender at the slightest scare. However, won't that guy just watch as his laboriously crafted evil corpses are all killed by Little Yen and the others? Lu Qing's gaze subtly shifted to a certain spot. With his strength, the evil cultivator certainly couldn't hide from his perception. He had long been fully aware of the hiding place. But this was Little Yan's trial, and unless something uncontrollable happened, he wouldn't intervene. As expected, watching Mu Tian and the others cut down the evil corpses like chopping vegetables, the hidden evil cultivator could no longer sit still. Lately, he had been active in Lin State, only intending to plunder some peasants from each village to absorb their essence blood for cultivation. He planned to move to the next state before the righteous factions reacted, not intending to make a big commotion. But recently, he had captured a few villagers from Cho family village. By chance, he discovered that the villagers seemed to possess some unique bloodline. Absorbing their essence blood not only significantly increased his cultivation, but the remaining corpses were also excellent for crafting into evil corpses. As an evil cultivator, he couldn't miss such a golden opportunity to enhance his strength. Immediately, the evil cultivator set up a corpse refining array in Cho family village. He not only drained the essence blood of the entire village's population but also refined all the corpses into evil corpses. Unexpectedly, just as he finished transforming the village corpses into evil corpses, a few righteous disciples came knocking. Sadly, having just absorbed a large amount of essence blood, he was on the brink of a breakthrough and couldn't take direct action, having to rely on the just-crafted evil corpses to fight. He hadn't expected these righteous disciples to be so troublesome, as even with the array's support, the evil corpses couldn't take them down. Watching Mu Tian and the others continually slay the evil corpses, the evil cultivator grew somewhat anxious. These evil corpses, infused with a special bloodline, had enormous potential, and if they continued to be lost, his losses would be significant. "You brats, stop being so arrogant." In a fit of urgent anger, the evil cultivator clasped his hands and cast a spell. The next moment, the ground shook, and 3 black coffins emerged from the ground, landing on the surface. Chapter 750. Little Yen shows her power, sword control technique. 3 black coffins fell to the ground, with a nearly tangible, dense black aura surging on their surface. A terrifying aura spread out, causing the bodies of Mu Tian and the others to stiffen. And it was this stiffness that caused their formation to falter briefly. The surrounding evil corpses seized this flaw, once again swarming over, clawing at them. Not good. Mu Tian and the others were greatly alarmed, wanting to parry or evade, but to their horror, they found their heart and spirit and inner breath were disrupted by the impact of the three black coffins, making it hard to react effectively. Thud. In this careless moment, Mu Tian and the others were all struck by the claws of the evil corpses. Though they tried to dodge desperately, they couldn't avoid getting injured. It's over. As soon as the wound was made, Mu Tian's body trembled, feeling a strange force trying to penetrate his body through the wound, invading his meridians. He knew it was the corpse poison contained in the evil corpses, corroding his physical body, and his face immediately showed despair. Being in the enemy's formation, with a powerful evil cultivator in the shadows, and now poisoned by corpse poison. This time they were truly unlikely to escape. Be careful. Just as Mu Tian and the others were feeling hopeless, a clear, crisp shout sounded. Suddenly, a silver light flashed before their eyes, like a dragon or snake, circling around them in an instant. The evil corpses surrounding them were instantly defeated by this silver light. Their bodies, hard as fine steel, were effortlessly sliced open as if they were tofu. The remains fell to the ground, the black aura dissipating, revealing their originally shriveled bodies. They were dead beyond any doubt, cut down completely. The remaining evil corpses, intimidated by the silver light, retreated repeatedly, not daring to approach for a while. Brother Mu, senior sister Qin, fall back. These three black coffins are difficult to deal with. Little Yen stood before them with her sword, her gaze solemnly fixed on the three black coffins shrouded in black aura. As for Mu Tian and the others, they stared in shock at Little Yen, standing there with her sword, exuding a chilling aura. Little Yan's momentum at this moment was far stronger than her usual self, causing them to feel an intense fear. Little Yen. Zhao Feng wanted to say something, but was pulled back by Mu Tian. Don't interfere. Leave it all to Little Yen. They retreated continuously until they reached Lu Qing's position before stopping. Only then did Mu Tian suddenly realize that Lu Qing, who had been standing still all along, was not attacked by any evil corpse at all. However, before he could figure out the reason, he suddenly felt dizzy, and a black aura spread across his face. Not good. It's the corpse poison. Mu Tian was shocked and turned his head to see that Zhao Feng and the others had the same condition. A black aura was spreading across their faces, clearly showing that the corpse poison was taking effect in their bodies. This corpse poison is so potent, just as Mu Tian wanted to sit and meditate to dispel the corpse poison. But at this time, his spiritual power was rapidly weakening. It turned out that the effect of the elixir he had taken before had been exhausted, and the side effects were starting to manifest. Damn it, why now? Mu Tian cursed silently, as his heart sank further. Just as he was about to take out healing pills to suppress the corpse poison, a strand of white light appeared before him, entering his body. Wherever it went, the extremely troublesome corpse poison melted away rapidly like snow under a blazing sun. Not only that, but even their injuries were improving and healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the wounds had completely disappeared. They even felt that the side effects from using the desperate elixir earlier were also completely cured and fully restored. Mu Tian suddenly turned around and saw before Lu Qing a faint talisman slowly dispersing. The white light that entered their bodies was emanating from the talisman. Void talisman. Mu Tian's mouth fell open, his eyes filled with disbelief, not just because of Lu Qing's display of the void talisman technique. More importantly, it must be known that the Qiu family village is currently sealed by the corpse refining array set by the evil cultivator, filled with death aura. Yet Lu Qing could casually draw such a vitality-filled talisman in such circumstances. To what extent has his talisman drawing skill reached? Indeed, Little Yan's mysterious brother was a strong expert hiding his true cultivation. Thank you, Brother Chen, for saving us. Feeling his body recovering, Mu Tian quickly expressed gratitude. Thank you, Brother Chen. The other three also snapped out of their shock, bowing in thanks as well. It's nothing, Lu Qing replied indifferently, not paying much attention. His gaze was focused on little Yen ahead. With his cultivation, removing a mere corpse poison was simply a trivial matter. It was little Yan's subsequent response that intrigued him more. After all, the things contained within those 3 black coffins seemed to emit a not-so-weak aura. Brother Chun, shouldn't you help little Yen? At this moment, Zhao Feng asked anxiously. The others also showed concern. Ever since the appearance of the 3 black coffins, the aura they exuded was extremely terrifying, beyond the level of the innate realm. Though the sword light little Yen previously displayed was formidable, they couldn't help but worry. No need, petty Foundation Establishment realm evil cultivators. Little Yen can handle them, replied Lu Qing calmly. Just as he finished speaking, 3 loud bangs resounded from the front. The lids of the 3 black coffins flew open abruptly, all aiming towards little Yen. At the same time, 3 black shadows flew out from the coffins, pouncing towards little Yen. In an instant, the black aura roared and surged, almost engulfing little Yen completely. The black aura contained a deathly aura, and if it invaded the body, even Foundation Establishment realm cultivators would struggle to handle it. The 3 black shadows flying out of the coffins merged completely with the black aura, becoming invisible. Facing such an attack, little Yen remained composed. She first moved lightly underfoot, dodging the 3 coffin lids. Then, the treasure sword in her hand erupted with beams of silver sword light once more, shooting indiscriminately in all directions. From a distance, it appeared like a blooming lotus, not only clearing out the surrounding black aura entirely. Even the 3 black shadows were forced out from the black aura, fully revealing their forms. Revealed to be 3 monstrous evil corpses, with ferocious faces, fangs, and black scale armor on their skins. As their forms were exposed, the 3 evil corpses let out a wild howl, pouncing forward again. Their speed was several times faster than the previous evil corpses. Buzz. However, at the moment the evil corpses revealed their forms, little Yan's eyes narrowed. The treasure sword in her hand trembled and unexpectedly flew out from her hand, transforming into a streak of silver light. Like a dragon or snake, it rapidly weaved through the air, encircling the heads of the 3 monstrous evil corpses in an instant. Immediately, the bodies of the 3 monstrous evil corpses froze, and the previously forward-pouncing bodies gradually came to a stop. A crack slowly spread across their necks, with black aura surging, causing the 3 heads to begin slowly falling off. Chapter 751. Execute, Sword, Chi Thunder Sound. Crunch, crunch, as the heads of the 3 black strange evil corpses fell to the ground. Their bodies began to frost over, starting from the neck and quickly spreading downward. Soon, the entire headless corpse was frozen. Even the black energy was completely frozen, unable to move. Then, with a flick of little Yan's sword technique, the silver sword light roving all around once again blasted towards the 3 frozen evil corpses. After a few thunderous roars, the 3 black strange evil corpses were blasted into pieces, falling to the ground. Yet the momentum of the silver sword light was not exhausted and continued to weave through the air. In an instant, it seemed to weave a silver net all around. Wherever it passed, the remaining ordinary evil corpses were all pierced through the head, turning into saturnine ice sculptures. Even the array covering the village with black light was pierced with countless holes and was gradually unraveling. It was that the corpse refining array besieging the Chiu family village could not withstand little Yan's sharp and unparalleled attack and was slowly collapsing. When the silver sword light reformed into a treasure sword and fell back into little Yan's hand as she sheathed it, Mu Tian and the others were already dumbfounded. They could hardly believe their eyes, watching the terrifying evil corpses that had filled them with utter despair being completely wiped out by little Yan in just a few breaths. Even more incredulous than Mu Tian and the others was the evil cultivator hidden in the shadows. He knew those 3 iron corpses were painstakingly concocted from remains he stole from ancestral graves of certain families, whose owners were innately strong in their past lives, with perfect innate realm cultivation. After a great deal of trouble, he finally refined them into iron corpses, their strength comparable to Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. Originally, he thought by releasing these 3 trump cards, he could easily capture this group of kids. Surprisingly, the girl who looked to be in her teens proved so formidable. In just the blink of an eye, she not only slew the iron corpses he painstakingly refined, but the array he set up was also severely damaged and would not be easy to repair. Foundation Establishment great success, flying sword skill. Just who is this girl? And that young man, who can cast talismans filled with vitality chi within my corpse refining array? Who is he? The evil cultivator shivered with dread, immediately intending to retreat. His own realm was merely at the Foundation Establishment small success. Although he saw signs of breakthrough after devouring the bloodlines of many villagers from Cho family village. Even if he broke through, he'd still be about the same realm as Little Yen. Let alone considering that his painstakingly refined iron corpses were destroyed, greatly depleting his strength. In such a situation, he was no match for this girl skilled in the art of flying swords. Moreover, for someone to be so powerful at such a young age, her background must be unimaginable. Suffice to say, even his master might not be able to provoke such a figure, and that young man capable of casting talismans full of vitality chi in an array choked with death chi made him shudder all the more. With countless thoughts racing through his mind, the evil cultivator's actions were anything but slow. He swiftly formed a spell with his hands. The array surrounding that was collapsing and unraveling unleashed its last bit of power under his urging. Countless black chi gushed from the ground, engulfing the entire Cho family village in darkness. Simultaneously, the evil cultivator turned into a black shadow and frenziedly fled out of the village. The evil cultivator knew that the array's last bit of power would be powerless against Little Yen and her group. But his purpose was never to harm them. He merely wanted to take advantage of the Death Chi's concealment to escape. The nature of Death Chi impedes divine soul sensing. As long as it stalls Little Yen and her group for a moment, he could flee freely. With his secret technique, once he entered the dense forest, even someone at the Golden Core realm might not be able to catch him. The evil cultivator's plan was definitely a good one. Thanks to the Death Chi's cover, he indeed managed to escape outside the village. However, just as he was about to enter the dense forest, thinking he would successfully escape, suddenly, an incredibly intense sense of fatality came from behind him. The evil cultivator was shocked, trying to dodge away, but it was too late. He only felt a pain in his chest as a silver flying sword emerged from it, puncturing through the entire forest ahead. His protective secret technique, treasure armor, spiritual power, every defensive measure he had. Before this flying sword, they were like paper, utterly useless. Only at this point did a rolling thunderous sound finally reach his ears. The evil cultivator widened his eyes, murmuring, "Sword chi thunder sound." So the records in the books were true. Feeling the vitality within him flowing away incessantly, the evil cultivator's heart was filled with despair. This sword of the opponent not only completely destroyed his central meridian but also eradicated all his vitality with its killing intent. As he was now, unless a great power arrived, he was certainly doomed. "Master, it's all because I didn't listen to your words and came out to plunder living beings. It seems this time, it's an inescapable calamity." As his consciousness began to fade, the evil cultivator suddenly thought of his master's admonition before he left. At the time, his master told him that the world's current trend no longer allowed for the rampant plundering of living beings, urging him to lie low and cultivate in certain dead zones. Although progress was slower, at least it was stable. Sadly, having tasted the rapid cultivation progression from plundering living beings' essence blood, he could no longer endure the tediousness of slowly cultivating by absorbing death chi. So he ultimately ignored his master's words and ventured out to plunder living beings. Little did he expect that even upon specifically seeking a remote small state in the northern border, he couldn't evade the pursuit by these righteous cultivators. Perhaps this is the tribulation we demon cultivators are destined to face. "Master, don't come seeking revenge for me. The opponent is someone we cannot afford to offend. The evil cultivator's mind whispered one last time, and then his consciousness plunged completely into darkness. Was that the hidden evil cultivator? In Qiu family village, Mu Tian and the others looked at the black-robed figure lying on the ground in the distance, hearts full of shock. After a long while, they came back to their senses and couldn't help but ask. Just moments ago, when black qi permeated, they were initially panicked. Then they saw little Yen suddenly surge with power. With a flick of her sword technique, the treasure sword, which had already returned to its sheath, flew out again. Under the roaring thunder sound, not only was all the black qi in front of her blasted away, but also a rapidly escaping figure in the distance was pierced and struck down. The piercing sword qi of the flying sword even plowed deep marks into the ground. Now where they stood, a sword mark over a foot wide spanned across the village and into the forest, extending far into its depths, making the scene extremely striking. Chapter 752. Xianming Black Jade. Someone behind. Little Yen, junior sister. Is this evil cultivator dead? Mu Tian looked at the fallen figure of the evil cultivator in front and asked. The life force attack just now, although formidable, naturally caused no harm to those beside Lu Qing. He should be dead, little Yen said with some uncertainty. In her sensing, the evil cultivator's aura had dissipated, showing no signs of vitality. But her brother had always said never to fully trust divine soul sensing. When facing an enemy, even if the opponent shows no signs of life, one must remain cautious. Moreover, this evil cultivator was clearly adept at corpse refining, making her even less certain. Little Yen involuntarily looked towards her brother. Lu Qing smiled slightly. Since you're not sure, how did I teach you before? Little Yen recalled and suddenly understood. Then she took out a fiery red talisman from her storage magical artifact. Using her heart and spirit to activate it, suddenly a dragon's roar rang out. A fire dragon flew out towards the evil cultivator lying on the ground. Boom! The power of the fire dragon was immensely strong, comparable to a full-force attack of the Foundation Establishment realm. When it landed on the corpse of the evil cultivator, the body was almost visibly burned away swiftly. Before long, only a pile of ashes remained, along with a few black magic artifacts left on the ground. Throughout the process, the evil cultivator didn't move a bit. Brother, he is dead, little Yen reported to Lu Qing upon seeing this. Mu Tian and the others watched this scene silently. When Lu Qing had spoken earlier, they thought he had taught little Yen some secret technique to discern whether an enemy was alive. Unexpectedly, it was such a straightforward method. However, with this method, it was confirmed. This evil cultivator was dead beyond doubt. Lu Qing nodded. He could naturally determine if the evil cultivator was truly dead. But the necessary caution was something that little Yen needed to understand. It seemed now that little Yen had indeed remembered all his previous teachings. Not bad. It seems you've grasped the essence of master swordsmanship, Lu Qing praised. Little Yan's execution of the flying sword technique was effortless, blending seamlessly with her spiritual power's cold attribute. She easily killed an opponent of the Foundation Establishment realm. Such a performance left him quite satisfied. To be honest, Lu Qing was a bit surprised. When little Yen achieved cultivation and reached the perfect innate realm, Lu Qing asked her what combat cultivation technique she wanted to focus on. To his surprise, the little girl wanted to learn the flying sword technique the most. As a result, Lu Qing specially crafted a high-grade treasure-level flying sword for little Yen to refine. Over the years, she had been practicing swordsmanship under the master's guidance in Jili village. Seemed now she had achieved quite a bit. However, in this recent fight, little Yen didn't use her life-bound flying sword. She only wielded her usual treasure sword. If it had been that flying sword, painstakingly created by Lu Qing with considerable effort, even a golden core realm cultivator could suffer greatly if caught off guard. Hee, brother. I haven't been slacking in cultivation, have I? Little Yen beamed with joy at her brother's praise, just like the little girl always by Lu Qing's side in the past. You've passed the test, and I'll give you a reward later. Lu Qing smiled. Really? Little Yen was even more delighted upon hearing this. The nearby Mu Tian and others understood the siblings' conversation. Indeed, little Yen must have an extraordinary teacher. But which powerful sect force did she come from? Could it be one of the legendary 3 great secret places? Mu Tian and the others pondered over it and realized that among today's top sect forces, none seemed to have a disciple as talented as little Yen. After all, little Yen had just slain a Foundation Establishment Realm evil cultivator. And critically, she was still so young. Such cultivation talent, even the prodigies among the true disciples of Central State's top sects, couldn't compare. The only thing they could think of was the 3 great secret places, known for being discreet and mysterious. The Holy Mountain itself had never been known to have a disciple with such exceptional talent. While the others speculated, Lu Qing stepped forward and gathered the few black magic artifacts left behind after the evil cultivator turned to ashes. Under the fire talisman dragon's burn, those evil path artifacts were mostly damaged to varying degrees, diminishing their power greatly. The only item intact was a black jade pendant. Lu Qing looked at the pendant and murmured softly. He sensed that the crafting method of the pendant was rather exquisite, not something a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator could make. Moreover, the aura within it didn't have that ancient feel. Clearly, this was a magic artifact crafted in recent years, not an ancient treasure. Brother, what's wrong? Little Yen asked. It's nothing. Lu Qing shook his head and continued observing the black jade pendant, quietly activating his superpower. Soon, a faint golden superpower light emanated from the pendant. Several lines of information appeared. Xianyin Jade Pendant, a high-grade magic artifact made from Xianyin Black Jade. Xianyin Black Jade, an unusual jade produced deep underground where death energy is dense, quite rare. This jade pendant was crafted by a Golden Core Realm evil cultivator and has effects of guarding the mind and suppressing heart demons. So it's Xianyin Black Jade. Lu Qing, after seeing the lines of information, understood. The legacy left by Lihua sect also mentioned Xianyin Black Jade. This black jade is only found in dead and desolate places. It is a unique treasure jade cultivated over countless years of death energy invasion. It has a unique effect on clearing the mind and suppressing heart demons. For cultivators, it is a rare treasure that guards the mind. Especially for evil cultivators and demon cultivators practicing the evil path, this jade is extremely coveted. Because evil demon cultivators, due to their cultivation techniques, are prone to heart demons. Xianyin Black Jade, infused with death's aura and capable of guarding the mind, is the best exotic treasure for them. The top-grade Xianyin Black Jade, even primordial spirit realm evil demon cultivators would be tempted by. However, the Xianyin Jade pendant in Lu Qing's hand was made from the most basic low-grade Xianyin Black Jade. Its effect on guarding the mind isn't too strong, only effective for Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. For someone like Lu Qing at his level, it's essentially ineffective. However, what Lu Qing was concerned about with this pendant wasn't these aspects, but another piece of information revealed in the earlier lines. Crafted by some Golden Core Realm evil cultivator? As expected, there's someone else behind this. Look at the black jade pendant in his hand. A cold glint appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. Chapter 753, Causal Calculations. Looking at the Xianming Jade pendant in his hand, a trace of coldness appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. The figures of the mother and son as dry corpses he saw earlier resurfaced in front of him. Just now, it was little Yan's trial, so he didn't take action. Now, knowing that there is a strong presence behind this evil cultivator, he naturally won't let it go easily. Lu Qing took out an octagonal magical treasure from his Chenkuan bag. This magical treasure was something he obtained from the storage magical artifact of a gray-robed man, one of 2 extraterrestrial visitors he had slain earlier. Later, Lu Qing discovered that this magical treasure was quite a mysterious divination-type artifact, named the Xuanji 8 Trigrams Disc. Its main capability is to trace the origin and calculate causality. placing the Shenming jade pendant into the Xuanji 8 trigrams disc. And upon Lu Qing urging it with his heart and spirit, the disc immediately started rotating, beginning to deduce the causes within. Lu Qing patiently waited. The Xuanji 8 trigrams disc's ability to deduce causality is extremely powerful. As long as the golden core realm behind this evil cultivator does not possess magical treasures or secret techniques to shield causality, it's nearly impossible to escape the deduction of this artifact. As expected, after a period of rotating and calculating by the Xuanji 8 trigrams disc, when it slowly settled down, a thin red smoky line emerged, pointing to the distance. "Brother, what are you doing?" Little Yen asked curiously. As for Mu Tian and others, naturally, they didn't dare to interrupt Lu Qing. From the conversation between the siblings, they all could see Little Yan's reliance on Lu Qing. With Little Yan's strength being so formidable, just how powerful could the Lu Qing she relies on be? Unconsciously, they all became quite awed by Lu Qing. It's nothing much. It seems that there's a strong presence behind this evil cultivator. I'm just using a magical treasure to deduce a bit. Lu Qing smiled. So, did brother deduce anything? Little Yen wasn't surprised that there was someone behind the evil cultivator. Instead, she asked. Lu Qing nodded. I'm planning to go find him. Do you want to come with brother? Yes, yes. Little Yan's eyes lit up. She hadn't gone out with her brother to play for a long time. Then deal with this place first, and we'll be off. At this moment, Lu Qing sensed several intense gazes. Turning back, he saw Mu Tian and the others looking eagerly at him. Lu Qing paused. Do you all want to go too? Mu Tian and the others nodded in agreement. Lu Qing pondered for a moment, then said, All right, then let's go together later. For now, let's deal with the evil corpses in this village. Lu Qing still had a good impression of these friends of Little Yen. In the face of such a desperate situation, they chose not to surrender to the evil cultivator. At least in terms of nature, they were considered upright. Letting them come along to gain some insight isn't a bad idea. Thank you, Brother Chun. Upon hearing this, Mu Tian and the others were overjoyed. Next, under Lu Qing's guidance, they gathered all the evil corpses together. Brother Chun, we've checked, and all the evil corpses in the vicinity have been gathered here. Before long, Mu Tian came over and said, Well done. Lu Qing looked at the pile of dry corpses in the center of the village, sighing. These corpses included the elderly, women, and children, totaling nearly 100. It appeared that all the villagers of Qiu family village were slaughtered by the evil cultivator. The coldness in his heart deepened further as Lu Qing flicked his finger, and a wisp of transparent flame flew out, landing on the pile of corpses. The next moment, overwhelming flames rose, engulfing the entire pile in an instant. These corpses were transformed into evil corpses through the evil cultivator's corpse refining array. Even in death, the death aura within them was still dense, making burial impossible. Leaving them unchecked, if other living creatures come into contact, they could easily be tainted by the death aura, causing unnecessary trouble. The only way is to burn them away, eradicating the death aura within. Lu Qing's Nanming leaving fire was incredibly formidable. Even the remains of those 3 iron corpses couldn't resist it. In a very short time, the mountain-like pile of corpses had been completely incinerated, leaving only some white ash on the ground. Then, Lu Qing dealt with all the array setups left behind by the evil cultivator's corpse refining array in Qiu family village. After completing all this, confirming there were no remaining hidden dangers, Lu Qing said, All right, get ready to leave. Brother Chun, which way should we head? Mu Tian asked at this moment. No need to worry, just follow me. With that, Lu Qing waved his hand gently, and suddenly a small boat appeared out of thin air, rapidly expanding into a boat large enough for several people to stand on. It was none other than the golden small boat, Lu Qing's most commonly used flying artifact. However, at this moment, to conceal his identity, he did not reveal the boat's original appearance. Instead, he altered it slightly, only showing a faint golden glow. But even so, Mu Tian and the others were left gaping. Is this a flying magical treasure? Mu Tian looked at the small boat hovering in midair, thoroughly shocked, somewhat disbelieving. The expressions of Zhao Feng and the other three were quite similar. In these years, with the continuous recovery of spiritual energy, many ancient cave mansions have gradually reappeared in the world. Among them, not only has knowledge been passed down, but some fortunate ones have obtained magical artifacts from ancient times. These magical artifacts, although all lacking in spirit light and reduced in power, have gradually regained some of their former power after being refined and nurtured by cultivators. Among all magical artifacts, those most sought after by cultivators are undoubtedly the flying magical treasures. It's essential to know that flight capability is extremely crucial for cultivators. Whether it's for escaping or pursuing enemies, a cultivator who knows how to fly undoubtedly holds an advantage. Yet the flying technique is not easy to master. Besides true men of the Golden Core realm, who can transform themselves into streams of light to fly with their own abilities, cultivators below the Golden Core realm have only two ways to master the flying technique. One is to cultivate a flying secret technique such as the clear wind wing technique and similar techniques. The second is to rely on external objects like talismans and magical treasures for flight. Among these methods, flying magical treasures are the most valuable and rare. After all, flying magical treasures not only are incredibly fast but also possess strong defensive capabilities. They can ensure that a cultivator is not easily ambushed during flight, making them truly one of the best magical treasures. The problem is, flying magical treasures are exceedingly rare, and very few sects across the land possess such treasures. They are almost always controlled by the leadership of major sects, rarely allowed out unless absolutely necessary. Thus, seeing Lu Qing casually bring out a flying magical treasure left Mu Tian and the others astounded. "Let's go." Lu Qing was already accustomed to Mu Tian and the others' repeated expressions of surprise, holding little Li as he first stepped onto the flying boat. Then it was little Yen and Wu Xing who also went up. Finally, Mu Tian and the others, carrying both confusion and anxiety, cautiously boarded the flying boat. Seeing everyone was aboard, Lu Qing urged it with his heart and spirit, and the flying boat immediately transformed into a stream of light, speeding off in the direction the Xuanji 8 trigrams disc had deduced earlier. Chapter 754. Extreme North Icefield. Sky-covering palm. The golden flying boat piloted by Lu Qing continued its swift journey northward. Before long, it entered the Arctic region, where the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped. And it was at this time that he led the group on their journey. In a cave mansion surrounded by frost, an elder in a black robe was looking angrily at a shattered jade token in his hand. "Hunger's life plate has shattered. He's dead? Who killed him?" In his shock and anger, the black-robed elder immediately used a secret technique to calculate with his heart and spirit. But the result of the calculation was a blur, revealing nothing, making it impossible to identify the murderer of his beloved disciple. Upon seeing this, the expression of the black-robed elder became immediately grave. There were only two explanations for such a result. One was that an exotic treasure had been used by the opponent to obscure the mysteries of the heavens at the time of Emo Heng's murder. The other was that the person who killed Emo Heng had a cultivation far superior to his own. This is why he couldn't calculate any clues. Neither of these scenarios was good news for the black-robed elder. The former indicated that the opponent had a deep background, extraordinary insight, and knew to use an exotic treasure to block the heavenly secrets before taking action. The latter was even more frightening, as someone stronger than him, an evil cultivator newly into the Golden Core realm, could only be one of the most top-notch existences among the righteous cultivators. What exactly did Hunger do outside to bring about such a deadly disaster? I had warned him long ago that in today's world, the righteous forces are strong. We should try to be patient and lurk, gather strength, and only then might we have a chance to contend with the righteous in the future. But he just couldn't resist the taste of refining human essence blood. Now, he has indeed encountered retribution. If earlier, the black-robed elder still had some thoughts of seeking revenge for his disciple. Now, seeing that he couldn't calculate any information, that bit of anger had already completely dissipated. Instead, it was replaced by vigilance, because he wasn't sure whether his good disciple had confessed his location before dying. No, this cave mansion can no longer be stayed in. Although he knew his good disciple wasn't likely to betray him, the black-robed elder didn't want to take that risk. At this moment, he no longer had any thoughts of avenging his disciple, only thinking of leaving quickly to find a new place to hide. He knew that because of the existence of the Holy Mountain, the current righteous forces were very enthusiastic about pursuing and exterminating these evil demon cultivators. So despite having multiple layers of array protection in his cave mansion, the black-robed elder still didn't dare to risk staying here any longer. Just pack the stuff and leave. The black-robed elder was a decisive person. After making up his mind, he immediately began to pack the items in the cave mansion. The main thing he packed was the array formation materials in the cave mansion. He had been managing this secluded cave mansion for a long time. Inside and out, 5 layers of arrays were laid around the cave mansion. Most of the resources collected over the years were invested in these. As long as he took these array materials away, he could set up a new cave mansion at the next secluded place with ease. The black-robed elder felt he was decisive enough. Upon knowing the disciple's death, he immediately decided to leave. However, just as he collected the materials for the first layer of the array, his body froze suddenly, because he sensed a few auras suddenly appearing in the sky above. The black-robed elder froze in place, not daring to move. Although the few auras in the sky weren't strong, only at the innate realm level, he could easily crush them with a flick of his finger. But for some mere innate realm cultivators to appear in the sky was extremely unusual in itself. Coupled with the fact that someone appeared above his cave mansion just after Mo Hung died, it was even more peculiar. One must know that his cave mansion, under the cover of the array, was very secretive. Cultivators below the Golden Core realm could hardly discover it. For a moment, the black-robed elder didn't dare to make any rash moves. He just cautiously sensed the movements above, hoping their presence here was just a coincidence. He didn't dare to continue dismantling the array materials either. If they were indeed after him, the arrays in the cave mansion would be a significant help for him. "Brother, are you saying the person is down there?" In the sky, little Yen looked at the expanse of ice below with some confusion. In her perception, the ice field below seemed unremarkable, with nothing special about it. It can't be wrong. Lu Qing looked at the karma red line activated by the Xuanji Bagua plate, pointing straight down. And in his own perception, there was an obvious flow of array aura movements. The opponent has set up an array to cover up their cave mansion. But unfortunately, the opponent's array techniques evidently don't include anything that can shield against karma. Moreover, the opponent's array comprehension was average, enough to fool little Yen and other cultivators below Golden Core realm. But to someone like him, a grandmaster in arrays, the array aura was all too obvious. Upon hearing Lu Qing's words, little Yen suddenly realized. She knew her brother was extremely proficient in arrays, so if he said so, it must be true. As for Mu Tian and others, upon hearing the conversation between the siblings, they immediately looked down and observed carefully. But with their cultivation, how could they possibly see through an array set by a Golden Core realm true man? However, they knew that Lu Qing wouldn't speak carelessly. Since they couldn't see any clues, it must mean that the opponent's array was sophisticated and beyond what they could comprehend. Therefore, after observing with no result, Mu Tian asked, "Brother Chun, the opponent is hiding in the cave mansion. How can we force him out?" "It's simple," Lu Qing replied indifferently. With that said, he stretched out his hand, spread his 5 fingers, and slowly grasped outward. Seeing this, Mu Tian and the others were a bit dumbfounded. They were wondering what Lu Qing intended to do with this action. The next moment, their eyes widened. As Lu Qing stretched out his hand, the sky within dozens of miles around changed dramatically. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth rapidly gathered. The gathering speed even directly stirred up a spiritual energy storm. Under such a terrifying amount of gathered spiritual energy, a massive magic palm began to visibly condense. Within a few breaths, a gigantic glazed palm, spanning several miles wide, appeared in the sky. At the moment the giant palm fully took form, an indescribably powerful pressure appeared out of thin air. It completely suppressed everything in the surrounding space. The astonishing scene almost made Mu Tian and the others' eyes pop out. They stared dumbfounded at the scene before them, stammering a few incoherent words without managing a complete sentence. And in their stunned gaze, Lu Qing's hand pressed downward. With this action, the enormous five-colored glazed palm across the sky also stirred up countless celestial gales, descending on the ice field below with an earth-shattering momentum. Chapter 755. Grabbing in one go. The power to uproot mountains. What is that? In the hidden sanctuary beneath the ice plain, the black-robed elder lifted his head, his face full of horror. Although he couldn't directly see the situation outside, the divine senses of the Golden Core realm were a more mystical ability than eyesight. Coupled with the aid of formation magic, he could feel everything happening outside with utmost clarity. So when he sensed through the array in the cave mansion that a gigantic radiant hand emitting a glazed light appeared in the sky, the black-robed elder couldn't help but open his mouth wide. His heart was full of terror, and even a trace of confusion appeared, because he simply didn't know how such an overwhelming force in the form of a magic giant palm had suddenly appeared. And before the black-robed elder could figure out what was happening, an even more terrifying scene unfolded. He saw that gigantic glazed palm descend from the sky, crushing down toward his location. This is bad. At that moment, the black-robed elder knew that the adversary was targeting him. But even understanding this, it was already too late. The menace radiated by the gigantic radiant hand in the sky was horrifying. This descending force was as if the sky was collapsing. If he didn't quickly respond, he feared he would be crushed on the spot. Rise for me. At this moment, the black-robed elder couldn't care about hiding anymore. He opened his eyes wide, his heart and spirit surged out, and he immediately activated the array in the cave mansion fully. As the array began to operate, the nature's spiritual energy around them started to fluctuate. A large amount of spiritual energy was devoured by the array, then transformed into layers of defense, guarding the entire cave mansion. There really is someone hiding beneath the ice plain. Such commotion naturally couldn't escape the notice of the people in the sky. The group led by Mu Tian felt the fluctuations of spiritual energy below and immediately responded. They realized that indeed, as Lu Qing had said, someone was hidden beneath the ice plain. Moreover, the location was exactly below the palm center of the gigantic glazed palm Lu Qing had unleashed. Boom! The gigantic radiant hand descended rapidly, its violent celestial gale slicing the ice plain below into countless cracks, sending ice shards flying everywhere. Then, under the immensely shocked gazes of Mu Tian and the others, the gigantic glazed palm landed on the ice plain. Instantly, the earth shook and mountains quaked. The enormous glazed palm, several miles wide, gripped the ice plain. 5 fingers, like sky-reaching pillars, pierced through the ice layer, penetrating hundreds of meters deep below. However, this was not the end. As Lu Qing's hand clenched, the gigantic glazed palm contracted correspondingly. The 5 sky-reaching fingers moved, tearing the ice plain earth, quickly converging and shrinking. Wherever it passed, the ice layer shattered, glaciers were crushed, completely unable to resist the gigantic glazed palm by even a fraction. Once the fingers converged, Lu Qing's arm lifted again. The resulting effect was even more terrifying. A cacophony of booming noises emanated from beneath the ice plain. That was the sound of the ice layer cracking. Then, Mu Tian and the others saw the gigantic glazed palm lifting a massive ice pillar, nearly 100 meters wide and several hundred meters thick, into the air. From afar, it looked as if an ancient giant was displaying boundless divine skills. Forcibly extracting a massive ice mountain from the vast ice plain appeared incredibly awe-inspiring. The gigantic glazed palm grasped the ice mountain, steadily rising. Meanwhile, the The palm's incomparably powerful sealing and crushing force continued grinding the ice mountain. The ice debris scattered all around, whipped by the celestial gale stirred up by the palm, creating a fierce miniature blizzard on the ice plain. As the ice mountain continued to be ground down, when the gigantic glazed palm returned to the high sky, the entire ice mountain's volume had shrunk significantly, becoming a massive ice ball only 100 meters large, with various light rays protruding from within. Because of those colored lights, the magic giant palm finally encountered resistance, slowing its contraction considerably. Noticing this, Lu Qing temporarily halted, stopping the mana propulsion, causing the gigantic palm to pause. The palm stopped, the celestial gale slowly subsided, and the blizzard began to gradually fade away. At this time, Mu Tian and the others finally saw the scene inside the gigantic glazed palm. The palm's position gripped a massive ice ball of 100 meters in size. Through the ice layer, they could see that inside the ice ball, there seemed to be a cave mansion, protected by layers of array formation light screen. But under the oppressive force of the gigantic glazed palm, that light screen, seemingly immensely sturdy and highly defensible, now appeared precarious and unstable, seemingly ready to shatter at any moment. Seeing such a scene naturally left Mu Tian and the others deeply shocked. It was a scene they never dared even dream of witnessing. Truly unimaginable what kind of terrifying power this represented. Just as Mu Tian and the others felt it was equally unbelievable, so did the black-robed elder within the ice ball. He never imagined that the cave mansion he'd painstakingly set up with layers of protective array would one day be lifted into the sky. Such divine skills and power were entirely beyond his imagination. Mo Hung, that rebellious disciple, what exactly did he do outside to provoke such a terrifying being? The black-robed elder hid in the cave mansion, his body cold, feeling both fearful and perplexed. His rebellious disciple's cultivation was at the level of small success foundation establishment. In the northern border region, this naturally counted as a master. But across the entire world, it would just be equivalent to the true disciple level of those major sects in Central State. What merit or ability did he have to provoke such a powerful existence to act? No wonder he couldn't deduce any information earlier. It turned out that the one who killed Mo Hung was such a terrifying force. In an instant, the black-robed elder's mind figured out many things. But he dared not move at all, let alone venture out to confront. Facing this opponent who was overwhelmingly powerful, he felt completely devoid of fighting spirit. He could only pray that the array in the cave mansion could withstand the adversary. While the black-robed elder was praying, the next moment, a creaking sound wiped out his last fantasy. Seeing the gigantic magic palm, which had stopped contracting, move once more. With this movement, the precarious array formation light screen immediately failed. Like a candle in the storm, it collapsed instantly. The array he'd painstakingly crafted and set up shattered in a matter of moments. The entire cave mansion exploded suddenly, completely disintegrating. Thump! The array was breached, the cave mansion destroyed. The black-robed elder, bound by heart and spirit, immediately spewed a large mouthful of blood, his divine soul heavily wounded. But he couldn't care about this injury now. Feeling that colossal sealing and crushing force, demolishing the cave mansion, then continuing to push toward him, the black-robed elder's heart and spirit finally collapsed. He disregarded any dignity as a golden core true man, immediately pleading loudly for mercy. "Spare me, Senior, spare me." Upon hearing the black-robed elder's plea, the vast force suddenly halted, only sealing him, not immediately crushing him. Then the originally enormous magic giant palm, several miles in size, began to shrink rapidly. Finally, it became only 3 meters large, pinching the black-robed elder, flying in front of a flying boat emitting a faint golden glow. Chapter 756. Execution. Matters settled. The glazed palm, reduced to several meters in size, held the old man in the black robe and came before the flying boat. Throughout the process, the old man in the black robe remained very obedient, not daring to make a single move. because he could feel that although the palm holding him had shrunk, its power was even more condensed. If he dared to make any movements, the powerful force would explode, and he would likely be crushed instantly. But when he saw the incredibly young-looking Lu Qing on the flying boat, his eyes widened abruptly, showing an expression of extreme shock. Lu Qing was also observing the details of the old man in the black robe. With superpower activated within a few breaths, he already understood the identity of the person before him. He said faintly, "Are you Mo Heng's master?" Upon hearing this, the old man in the black robe was first stunned. Then a surge of uncontrollable anger rose in his heart. He hadn't expected that the traitorous disciple did indeed betray him. At once, the old man in the black robe quickly said, "Your Excellence, I have long severed the master-disciple relationship with that traitor and have no idea what he has done outside. It has nothing to do with me." At this moment, the old man in the black robe wished he could grind the traitorous disciple to dust. If it weren't for him, how could he have suffered this undeserved calamity? Not only was the cave mansion, painstakingly built with immense effort, utterly destroyed, but his very life was at someone else's mercy. How could he not hate this in his heart? "Nothing to do with you?" Lu Qing sneered. "The Shenming jade pendant on Mo Heng is refined by you, right? If not for deep master-disciple affection, would you have been willing to give him such treasure? Your Excellence is wronged." The old man in the black robe felt uneasy, yet quickly proclaimed his innocence. "It's true I refined the Xianming jade pendant, but that traitor stole it while I was in seclusion. Because of this matter, I expelled him from the sect, severing all ties. Then you truly have deep feelings and righteousness, severing the master-disciple relationship, yet not reclaiming such a treasure." Lu Qing chuckled. "Enough, don't try these tricks on me. Even if you indeed severed ties with Mo Heng, so what? Don't tell me you've attained this devil technique purely through your own efforts? Your sins are far heavier than your disciple Mo Heng's. So, before you die, feel for a good while the agony that the living creatures you harmed once endured." With that, he flicked his fingers, sending a wave of energy. "Your Excellence." Hearing Lu Qing's gradually chilling tone, the old man in the black robe sensed danger. He was about to speak to continue pleading but hadn't yet when the wave was already in front of him. Being suppressed by the colorful glazed palm, the old man in the black robe had no way to evade, only able to show terror as he watched the wave fall upon him. Immediately, he fell into an incredibly terrifying illusion realm. Within the illusion realm, he became an ordinary person, and all the living creatures he had once harmed transformed into fierce ghosts, seeking revenge, returning to him 100-fold the pain he once inflicted upon them. "Ah! No! No!" The old man in the black robe, trapped in the illusion realm, had a horribly twisted expression, emitting dreadfully shrill screams. However, strangely enough, even though his expression showed extreme fear, his eyes were terribly hollow, sending chills down Mu Tian and the others. This way, after screaming for a full quarter hour, the old man in the black robe finally couldn't withstand the torment of the illusion realm, and his heart and spirit began to crumble. Lots of black energy surged out from his body, transforming into fierce ghosts that started tearing at the old man in the black robe. It was because the old man in the black robe's heart and spirit had collapsed, unable to suppress the devil technique's backlash. Eventually, under the countless spirits' bites, the old man in the black robe died completely in endless agony. The physical body was entirely consumed, transformed into black energy, turning into evil spirits trying to break out within the colorful glazed palm. However, even the old man in the black robe himself was like an ant before Lu Qing. This aftermath of the devil technique's backlash could never escape the sealing power of the colorful glazed palm. Lu Qing merely gently clenched his hand. Under the strong sealing power activated, all the evil spirits formed from the black energy in the palm shattered instantly, disintegrating to nothing. Only a few black magic artifacts remained. Lu Qing dissipated the colorful glazed palm and took the few black magic artifacts in his hand. In the high sky, everything returned to calm. But Mu Tian and others' heart and spirit remained in turbulent waves, unable to calm down for a long time. Looking at Lu Qing, their eyes were full of awe. They couldn't help it. Ever since coming to this icy land, everything they saw had been too shocking. The astonishing divine skills displayed by Lu Qing had completely surpassed their understanding of cultivation. With a mere press, he could summon an enormous and terrifying palm of several miles. With a gentle lift, he could directly grab an iceberg out of the icy land. Even the true man in the Golden Core realm hiding in the cave mansion had no resistance and was easily refined to death. They couldn't imagine what kind of cultivation and divine skills were needed to accomplish such terrifying feats. And what level had Lu Qing's realm reached? Lu Qing didn't mind the gaze of Mu Tian and the others. He was scrutinizing the few black magic artifacts in his hand. He mainly focused on a black jade pendant. The magic artifacts left by the old man in the black robe were all evil path artifacts, of no great use to him. The only useful item should be this Shenming jade pendant. The jade pendant left by the old man in the black robe was larger than the one Emohang had. The black color was much deeper, and the jade quality was more crystal clear. Lu Qing activated his superpower, had a look, and then a trace of understanding appeared in his eyes. Indeed, the material of the Shenming jade pendant was much superior to the piece left by Emohang previously, made with high-grade Shenming black jade. Its effect was also much stronger, capable of helping cultivators at the Golden Core realm to guard against the Heart Demon. After investigating, Lu Qing put everything away. He possessed superpower, able to easily enter a cultivation state similar to sudden enlightenment. Heart Demon issues wouldn't affect him, and the Shenming black jade was of little use. But it could be of use to Master and Little Yen. So he planned to take it back and refine it again for Master and Little Yen to wear. "Brother, where are we going now?" Seeing Lu Qing put away those magic artifacts, Little Yen asked. Among everyone present, she was the most calm from start to finish. Even though she was also amazed by the means her brother displayed, in her heart, her brother was omnipotent. Therefore, regardless of what divine skills her brother exhibited, she found them perfectly natural. "We'll return to the village first," Lu Qing replied. Meanwhile, he reached out to pat little Li and 5 elements on the head. He still had a stroke of luck here, belonging to these 2 little ones. Chapter 757. Guess the identity, the valley remains the same. "Brother Chun, Little Yen, are you leaving?" Mu Tian and the others heard the siblings' conversation and asked. "Yes, Little Yen has been out for a while now. It's time for her to go back and settle down." "Where are you headed? I can give you a ride." Lu Qing nodded. In fact, if it weren't for the sudden appearance of the evil cultivator, he would have taken Little Yen away from that small town long ago. "You can just take us back to Lin State, Brother Chen." Hearing this, Mu Tian and the others felt reluctant, but they dared not express it. Lu Qing's cultivation was unimaginably high, able to easily crush even Golden Core true men. A person like this, once they decide on something, always follows through. They were just small innate realm cultivators and did not dare to overstep. Just to Lin State? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. From the Jade Talisman messages Little Yen had sent, he knew they were not from the northern border. They were just traveling here. "Yes, we still have sect training tasks to complete and need to stay in the northern border for a while," Mu Tian quickly replied. "In that case, I'll take you back first." Lu Qing nodded. His mind moved slightly, and the flying boat turned into a stream of light, piercing the sky and flying swiftly away. When they arrived in Lin State, Lu Qing landed the flying boat, and Mu Tian and the others got off. "Thank you, Brother Chen." They respectfully bowed to Lu Qing. "No problem. Then everyone, until we meet again." Lu Qing smiled. "Brother Mu, Brother Zhao, Brother Wu, Senior Sister Qin, goodbye." Little Yen waved to them. "Goodbye, Little Yen." Mu Tian and the others responded. Zhao Feng wanted to say something more but couldn't open his mouth in the end. The next moment, the flying boat had already turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the sky. Zhao Feng stared blankly in the direction the flying boat left, his expression dazed. The other three looked at each other. And in the end, it was Mu Tian who stepped forward and patted him on the shoulder. Don't think about it. Little Yan's background is too much for inner sect disciples like us to reach. I know. Zhao Feng showed a bitter smile. Not to mention Little Yan's identity. Just her cultivation was beyond his reach. She had reached great success in the Foundation establishment realm and mastered the mysterious and unfathomable flying sword skill, easily slaying cultivators of the same level. Such strength and foundation even his master could not match. In his sect, she would be a top figure second only to the sect master of the Golden Core realm. Thinking about all this, Zhao Feng's heart felt even more bitter. Mu Tian saw his expression and didn't know what to say, so he just patted his shoulder again. On the other hand, Wu Wenyuan and Qin Wuxue started discussing. Do you think this brother Chun is that person? I think he definitely is. Who else but that person could have such divine skills at such a young age? I didn't expect Little Yen to be that person's sister. Legend has it that when that person traveled, a little girl was always with him. Could it be Little Yen? Yes, we should have thought of that. It said that when that person traveled the world, there was also a spiritual fox and a spiritual snake with him, just like the ones with Little Yen. You can't blame us. Ever since that person became famous, many people have been fond of raising spiritual foxes and spiritual snakes. What are you talking about? Mu Tian asked, hearing their conversation. We were discussing whether Brother Chan is the legendary Supreme, who cultivated on the Holy Mountain. Qin Wuxue answered. What? Why do you think that? Mu Tian was shocked, but soon he was stunned. The sect records, the legends of that person, flashed through his mind, and the various miraculous and unimaginable methods he had witnessed from Little Yan's brother. Suddenly, it was as if a thunderclap resounded in his mind. Many things became clear to him all at once. It really might be that person. No, besides that person, who else in the world could treat Golden Core true men like nothing and easily kill them? Mu Tian realized it with sudden clarity. It was no wonder he had been slow to react, as he never imagined he would ever have an encounter with that person. After all, that person was recognized as the strongest in the world. 10 years ago, he had a record of easily killing a Golden Core true man in front of countless people. A supreme existence that top sects and even several great secret lands revered. No wonder Little Yen is such a powerful Foundation establishment realm expert at such a young age. If she's that person's sister, it all makes sense. Mu Tian realized. Little Yen is actually that person's sister. Zhao Feng, who had been dazing, mumbled, hearing their conversation. Little Yen, what do you think of those friends of yours? On the golden flying boat, Lu Qing asked. Brother Mu and sister Qin? They're all very nice. Little Yen answered without thinking. What about Zhao Feng? Lu Qing continued to ask. Brother Zhao. Little Yen tilted her head to think. Brother Zhao seems to be quite silent and doesn't talk much. I don't talk to him often. He's a bit of a reserved person. Lu Qing looked at the innocence on Little Yan's face and suddenly laughed, knowing his worries were unnecessary. The little girl was still naive, and those things were far from her concern. Lu Qing's cultivation had increased, and his control of the golden flying boat speed was now incredibly fast. Even returning from the northern border to Tsang State didn't take long. However, after returning to Tsang County, Lu Qing didn't go back to Jili Village immediately. Instead, he took Little Yen and Little Li directly to the valley where the Jade Cave was located in the 10,000 Great Mountains. Brother, weren't we going back to the village? Why are we coming to the Jade Cave first? Stepping off the flying boat, Little Yen was puzzled. In the past 10 years, Lu Qing had already told his master and Little Yen about the Jade Cave's location. Sometimes, when she needed to close up for a breakthrough, Little Yen would also bring Little Li and others to practice here for a while, so she was quite familiar with this place. No rush to return to the village. Let's finish some other things first. Lu Qing looked at the valley, not having been here for some years. The changes in the valley were not significant. Besides the more dense spiritual energy, everything was more or less the same as years ago. He first went to Li Weiyan's grave to pay his respects, then looked at Little Li and Five Elements. Little Li and Five Elements trembled slightly. They felt a seriousness in Lu Qing's gaze. Little Li, Five Elements, you've been at the Foundation Establishment Perfect Realm for quite some time. Have you recently sensed any opportunity for a breakthrough? Sure enough, Lu Qing asked them a question that sent a shiver down their spine. Chapter 758. Refinement of True Blood, Bloodline Transformation. As early as 10 years ago, Little Li had already stepped into the realm of perfect foundation establishment. As for the Five Elements, that was even earlier. Gifted with extraordinary talent, it was already a spiritual beast at perfect foundation establishment while still in the secret realm. Its physical body was particularly strong, comparable to the Golden Core early stage. Originally, 10 years ago, Little Li and the Five Elements were eligible to cross the tribulation. However, back then, after observing the Elder Doctor's tribulation crossing, they felt the terror of the heavenly tribulation. Later, they learned that the Golden Core tribulation had different levels which would affect their future path. Unexpectedly, they both proposed to temporarily not cross the tribulation, to continue honing and accumulating their foundation, to build a stronger base during the Golden Core tribulation. Lu Qing was naturally pleased with the ambition of these two little ones. Therefore, over the past 10 years, he did not urge them to cross the tribulation, allowing them to continue accumulating and honing. Now, hearing Lu Qing's sudden inquiry, Little Li and the Five Elements felt somewhat surprised. After thinking for a moment, Little Li said, "These years, I have been diligently cultivating the techniques in the bloodline legacy, honing my own foundation, and now I have almost reached the limit with no further progress possible. I can cross the tribulation at any time, but I'm unsure of what level of heavenly tribulation I can trigger. I'm about the same. I've honed to the limit." The five-colored winged snake also nodded. Little Li has a bloodline legacy. Back when it stepped into the innate realm, it awakened part of the bloodline legacy. Over these years, as its realm rose, it also cultivated the techniques from the legacy to a deep level. Up until now, it has almost dug into the limit of its potential, with hardly any further progress possible. As for the five-colored winged snake, that is even more so. It was nurtured from the Five Elements' secret realm, a strange spiritual beast with no father or mother, born of nature. Its bloodline lacks a legacy, and it can only cultivate by instinct. Thus, over these 10 years, its progress is even less than Little Li's. "Have you reached the limit?" Lu Qing nodded slightly. He took out 2 jade bottles from the bag of universe and qi. "Here are 2 portions of true blood, exchanged from a predecessor of mutant beasts. That predecessor has powerful strength, deep cultivation, and its bloodline is extraordinarily ancestral. Look to see if these 2 portions of true blood are of any use to you." Lu Qing opened the stopper of 1 jade bottle, and an unusual fragrance wafted out. The true blood refined by the old dragon turtle not only lacked the smell of blood, but also carried a peculiar fragrance. "This is..." Little Li and the Five Elements smelled the peculiar fragrance and immediately widened their eyes, staring intensely at the jade bottle in Lu Qing's hand. Their spiritual beast instinct told them that the contents of the jade bottle had great allure for them. If they could refine it, they would likely gain unimaginable benefits. Especially the five-colored winged snake, whose heart raced with emotion. It felt that the treasure inside the jade bottle was even more alluring than the lotus seeds of the Five Elements treasure lotus. If not for the deep-seated reverence for its master suppressing it, it almost couldn't resist snatching the jade bottle right away. "Ah Qing, you say this is for us?" Little Li asked excitedly. "Of course, but you must act within your means. These 2 portions of true blood are extraordinary, sourced from a highly exceptional predecessor of mutant beasts, and might not be easy to refine." Lu Qing handed the 2 bottles of true blood to Little Li and the Five Elements. The source of these 2 portions of true blood is that of the 9 Tribulation mutant beast ancestor dragon. Although by the time it reached the old dragon turtle generation, the bloodline had been diluted by an unimaginable extent, it was still not to be underestimated. Thus, Lu Qing specially reminded them, "Don't worry, Ah Qing, we will remember." Little Li took the jade bottle, extremely excited. All right, then you guys go inside the cave and refine them. I'll protect you. In no time, in the Jade Cave, Little Li and the five elements had each taken a position, ready to start refining the true blood from the jade bottles. Lu Qing, along with Little Yen, protected them both. Watching Little Li and the five elements swallow down the true blood and begin refining, a hint of anticipation appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. The true blood given by the old dragon turtle had been pre-examined by Superpower and showed no issues. Moreover, the information from the Superpower investigation included a note. If gifted living creatures were to refine the true blood, there was even a slight chance of acquiring the genuine ancestor dragon source bloodline. Neither Little Li nor the five elements were ordinary spiritual beasts. Needless to say, the five elements, being born of nature and nurtured from the secret realm, had an innate presence of five elements power within its body. It belongs to an extremely rare existence throughout the world. And Little Li is no less remarkable. Though the heritage and foundation of the Black Knight Spirit Fox clan may not be as exaggerated as the five-colored winged snake, it is nonetheless incomparable to ordinary spiritual beasts. More importantly, Little Li has, since following Lu Qing, had several opportunities. Not only has it transformed several times, greatly deepening its foundation, it also awakened two innate divine abilities, and when it comes to potential, it might be even more exaggerated than the five elements. Thus, Lu Qing has quite some expectation for the result of their true blood refining. If they strike a stroke of luck, even if they fail to awaken the ancestor dragon's source bloodline, merely awakening the Swan Knee's source bloodline would still be excellent. In Lu Qing's anticipation, Little Li and the five elements were earnestly refining the true blood. And as the true blood was continuously refined and integrated into their bodies, a faint presence of imposing power gradually emerged from them. That presence wasn't strong, yet it was heart-stirring. Even Lu Qing felt a touch of trepidation. It looks like they are refining quite smoothly. Lu Qing, seeing this, felt a sense of joy. So far, Little Li and the five elements refining process had been very smooth, without any disturbance. That enigmatic presence presumably leaked from the true blood. Time passed bit by bit, and throughout the process of refining the true blood, Little Li and the five elements didn't exhibit any abnormalities. On the contrary, the presence emerging from their bodies began to gradually thicken. Finally, reaching a critical point, the two little ones' bodies quaked simultaneously. Following this, a strong suction emanated from their bodies, devouring the rich spiritual energy within the cave chamber ravenously. Masses of spiritual energy gathered, directly forming white mist, engulfing their bodies. Witnessing this, Lu Qing activated the spell, initiating the big array within the chamber to absorb the spiritual energy from the radius of dozens of miles in the outside world, supplying the little ones for their transformation. The reason he chose for Little Li and the five elements to refine the true blood in the Jade Cave was precisely for this moment. Under the enhancement of the cave's big array, their transformation could be made smoother. The transformation of Little Li and the five elements lasted nearly half a day. During this time, they continuously absorbed spiritual energy, hidden beneath the dense spiritual energy white mist. If not for the dense spiritual energy of the 10,000 great mountains over these 10 years, even with the big array's enhancement, it might have been difficult to supply such ravenous devouring. Finally, as the transformation within them neared its end, Little Li and the five elements ceased absorbing spiritual energy. The white mist gradually dispersed, revealing their figures. Chapter 759, True Dragon Potential, Crossing the Tribulation Opportunity. When the white mist dispersed, revealing Little Li and the others once again, Lu Qing and Little Yen discovered that the appearances of the two spiritual beasts had undergone significant changes. First was the five elements. The originally colorful stripes had become orderly, transforming into mysterious five-colored secret patterns, interwoven on their bodies. The small pair of budding horns on their heads had grown significantly, extending to a full 3 inches long. The texture resembled white jade, wrapped with rings of purple secret patterns, looking extremely mysterious. The wings on their backs had also enlarged significantly, with mysterious runes surfacing on them. Most importantly, the originally smooth abdomen now had four silver-sharp claws, also interwoven with secret patterns, exuding a sharp aura. Then looking at little Lee's side, the originally flame-like black fur had become even more profound and mysterious. Like an endless abyss, just looking at it gave a feeling of being completely devoured. A streak of golden fur appeared on the head, forming a divine rune, resembling a mysterious closed vertical eye. The previously white glove-like paws now also had strands of golden secret patterns within the white fur, making little Lee appear not only mysterious but also exuding elegance and nobility. Seeing the changes in little Lee and the five elements, Lu Qing smiled. It was evident that the refinement of true blood had greatly benefited these two little ones. Lu Qing then activated superpower, looking at the two little ones. He first looked towards the five elements. Gazing for a moment, he saw an incredibly intense purple superpower light emerge from the five elements. Several strings of information floated out. Five elements winged serpent. A peculiar spiritual beast born with the power of the five elements. Cultivation. Perfect foundation establishment. Nourished by the power of the five elements, the physical body is strong, comparable to the initial golden core stage. This spiritual beast was originally a spiritual snake. After swallowing and refining dragon turtle true blood, the bloodline transformed and evolved further into a serpent dragon lineage. Due to the strong origin of the refined true blood, the bloodline potential has greatly increased, showing a hint of transformation into a true dragon. After reading the five elements information, Lu Qing turned his gaze to little Lee. Before long, an equally intense purple superpower light appeared, even more profound than that of the five elements. Dark Night Dragon Raccoon. A spiritual beast whose bloodline has undergone several transformations. Female, juvenile. Cultivation. Perfect foundation establishment stage. Extremely fast speed. Unmatched sharp claws. Capable of cutting through anything. After swallowing and refining dragon turtle true blood, the bloodline further transformed, becoming a dragon raccoon. Due to the strong origin of the refined true blood, the bloodline potential has greatly increased, showing a hint of transformation into a true dragon. After reading through little Lee and the five elements information, Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. These two little ones did not disappoint him. After refining dragon turtle true blood, not only did their bloodlines transform, they even awakened potential, hinting at future evolution into true dragons. You must know, according to the information Lu Qing obtained from the Jade Scroll left by the two extraterrestrial visitors. In the outside world, only mutant beasts with a primordial spirit at the level of 3 tribulations or higher, containing concentrated dragon blood, are qualified to be called true dragons. The power difference between each of the 9 tribulations of the primordial spirit is vast, worlds apart. Little Lee and the 5 elements possessing such potential could indeed attain the primordial spirit realm in the future. How do you both feel? Seeing the two little ones awaken, Lu Qing asked. Ah Qing, the true blood you gave us is truly miraculous. I feel my bloodline has undergone a great transformation, little Lee said excitedly. The 5 elements beside also nodded repeatedly. It too felt that its bloodline had become extremely powerful through transformation. Of course, the true blood I gave you comes from an ancient mutant beast of the primordial spirit's 9 tribulations and beyond. Its power can be said to tower above all realms, its bloodline's miraculousness beyond imagination. You are fortunate to have merged with a trace of its descendants' true blood. Thoroughly explore its potential in the future for immense benefits. Little Lee and the 5 elements' bloodlines, though transformed, were limited by their realm, so their power hadn't increased much yet. However, after they crossed the Golden Core Tribulation, a surge in strength is sure to follow. True blood from the offspring of ancient mutant beasts beyond the primordial spirit's 9 tribulations. Upon hearing this, little Lee and the 5 elements were stunned. They didn't know what the primordial spirit's 9 tribulations represented, but they knew that the Golden Core realm was already immensely powerful. The existence beyond the primordial spirit realm must be unfathomably terrifying to them. Your bloodlines have just transformed. In the coming days, take time to refine and adapt, Lu Qing said. Little Li nodded forcefully. Ah Qing, I can feel that after this refining process, I'll be able to cross the tribulation. The 5 elements nodded in agreement as well. Good. Focus on your cultivation and strive to cross the tribulation soon. With that, Lu Qing flicked 2 streams of light, landing before the 2 little ones. These were 2 lotuses emitting a 5-colored light. These 2 lotus seeds are the result of the supreme spiritual medicine, the treasure lotus of 5 elements. After consuming and refining them, it shouldn't take long for you to refine your bloodlines to perfection again. The lotus seeds of the treasure lotus of 5 elements contain vast life energy, and since they encompass the 5 elements, they can be consumed by any living creatures. It's just that those not practicing 5 elements cultivation would waste some of the medicinal power. Thank you, Ah Qing Master. Holding the lotus seeds and sensing the immense life energy within, little Li and the 5 elements were overjoyed. Especially the 5 elements, for whom the 5 elements lotus seed is exceedingly important. With this lotus seed, it felt more confident about the upcoming Golden Core tribulation. In the following days, Lu Qing had little Li and the 5 elements continue their cultivation in the Jade Cave. He continued to protect them and occasionally guided little Yen in her cultivation. Given Lu Qing's current cultivation realm, his insights were profound. Every piece of guidance went straight to the point, making it easy for little Yen to understand and resolve the issues she encountered in her cultivation. Thus, while little Li and the others honed themselves, little Yan's cultivation progressed rapidly as well. Step by step, she was advancing toward the next realm, and it seemed it wouldn't be long before she would officially enter the state of perfect foundation establishment. This way, under Lu Qing's guidance, the cultivation of the 3 little ones progressed by leaps and bounds. Finally, more than 10 days after refining the dragon turtle true blood and transforming their bloodlines, little Li excitedly told Lu Qing that it sensed the opportunity for a breakthrough. On the same day, the 5 elements emerged, telling Lu Qing that it had sensed the aura of crossing the tribulation. Chapter 760. Little Li crossing the tribulation, divine skills unleashed. Deep within the 10,000 great mountains, the peak where Lu Qing and the elder doctor once crossed the Golden Core tribulation. Having been ravaged by 2 major heavenly tribulations, this original magnificent, enormous peak has now been leveled by the tribulation thunder. Shorter than the neighboring peaks, 10 years have passed, and the once scorched earth of the peak, struck by tribulation thunder, has now regrown flowers, grass, and trees, becoming lush and verdant. Are you too sure you want to cross the tribulation here? Lu Qing asked somewhat helplessly. Yes. The 2 little ones nodded forcefully. Little Li excitedly said, Ah Qing, you and Grandpa Chen both crossed your tribulations successfully here, so it stands to reason that this is a great place for crossing tribulations. We'll definitely succeed if we cross our tribulations here. Lu Qing. He wanted to say that when he originally chose this peak, there was no special reason, he just picked it at random. However, seeing little Li and the 5 elements looking serious, he found it hard to say anything. In crossing tribulations, attitude is very important as well. The fact that these 2 little ones have such confidence is certainly a good thing. So he nodded. Since that's the case, then prepare your breath adjustments and get ready for your tribulation. Yes. Little Li and 5 elements obediently regulated their breath on the spot. Not long after, they adjusted their state to its peak. Ah Qing, we're ready to start any time, said little Li excitedly. Okay. Who will start crossing the tribulation first? Me. Me first. Can't let this stinky snake go first. Little Li immediately said. 5 elements remained silent beside her, indicating agreement. Having lived together for 10 years, it was long accustomed to yielding to little Li in all things. Once the big sister speaks, it naturally wouldn't dare go first. Then let little Li start first. Lu Qing did not oppose. After all, it didn't matter who crossed the tribulation first. He advised Little Li a few times, then prepared to take Little Yen and 5 elements away to another peak. Little Li, do your best. Before leaving, Little Yen clenched her pink fist to cheer on Little Li. As soon as Lu Qing and the others reached another peak, they heard a crack of thunder. Then a mighty celestial power descended from the sky, and a massive tribulation cloud vortex slowly appeared. So decisive. Lu Qing saw this and smiled slightly, quite satisfied. The greatest taboo in a cultivator's tribulation is hesitating and shrinking back, and Little Li's mindset actually increases her chances of passing the heavenly tribulation. I wonder what level of tribulation cloud Little Li's will be? According to the records obtained from those 2 extraterrestrial visitors, the will of the heavenly Tao treats all living creatures facing tribulations with the same regard. Even the heavenly tribulations of spiritual beasts and demon beasts are classified into several levels. The grade of demon cores condensed from different levels of tribulations also varies. The massive tribulation cloud vortex slowly rotated until finally, it condensed. Seeing its golden hue, Lu Qing displayed a knowing expression. Little Li's Black Knight Spirit Fox bloodline was already rather extraordinary on its own. Since following him, she also gained several opportunities, awakening several innate divine abilities. Moreover, not long ago, she refined Dragon Turtle True Blood, further transforming her bloodline, hinting at the potential to evolve into a true dragon. Such accumulation and foundation naturally mean the tribulation cloud triggered can't be ordinary. But once the level of the tribulation cloud became clear, Lu Qing couldn't help but worry. The power of the golden heavenly tribulation is incredibly terrifying. Last time, even his master almost failed to pass. While Little Li's accumulation is deep, it doesn't guarantee she'll pass this heavenly tribulation. As Lu Qing nervously watched, the golden hue of the tribulation cloud in the sky grew increasingly vibrant. Finally, lightning gathered, and a golden tribulation thunder descended with a roar. Boom! Lightning spread across the peak, once again turning it to scorched earth. As expected, Little Li easily blocked the first tribulation thunder. She hadn't even used spiritual power, relying solely on her body's physical strength to resist the first tribulation thunder. As a spiritual beast, her physical body was naturally strong. Furthermore, Little Li's bloodline has undergone multiple transformations, especially after refining Dragon Turtle True Blood. Though her physical strength is still slightly weaker than that of 5 elements, it no longer falls behind that of ordinary Golden Core Realm spiritual beasts. So the first tribulation thunder fell upon her, and it couldn't even break her fur, dissolving easily. Looks like things aren't bad. Seeing Little Li easily resist the first tribulation thunder, Lu Qing felt much relieved. With this situation, Little Li should handle the earlier tribulation thunders without issue. Indeed, events unfolded just as Lu Qing anticipated. Little Li easily passed the first 3 tribulation thunders. But by the 4th, she began to struggle, her body showing damage, forcing her to use spiritual power for resistance. Even so, by the 6th tribulation thunder, Little Li already appeared fatigued, having to employ magical treasures for defense against the heavenly tribulation. Yes, magical treasures. While spiritual beasts often rely on their bodies and innate abilities in battles, they can also use magical treasures. In preparation for this tribulation, Lu Qing had supplied Little Li and 5 elements with abundant resources, including numerous magical treasures, all to ensure maximum survival through the heavenly tribulation. Little Li's tribulation thunder is above 6 levels? Seeing Little Li sacrifice a low-grade magic treasure to defend against the 6th tribulation thunder, Lu Qing watched the tribulation cloud in the sky that hadn't yet dissipated and raised his concern again. According to his master's heavenly tribulation, once a golden cloud heavenly tribulation reaches the 7th tribulation thunder, its power multiplies compared to previous ones. Even with his master's accumulation at the time, he almost fell under the 8th tribulation thunder. Little Li's tribulation thunder also being above 6 levels isn't exactly good news. Thank goodness, Little Li has some tactics left unutilized. She should still manage to resist. Nevertheless, Lu Qing focused intensely, constantly monitoring little Li's situation. If she truly couldn't hold on, he would intervene at any moment. Under Lu Qing's watch, in the ensuing time, little Li managed to pass the 7th Tribulation Thunder at the expense of all her magical treasures. Using her incredibly tough and striking claws to endure Tribulation Thunder. Her claws almost entirely wasted, she barely survived the 8th Tribulation Thunder. Is the Tribulation Cloud not dissipating even after the 8th Tribulation Thunder? Lu Qing watched little Li, now battered with barely any intact fur. Her aura greatly diminished with utmost solemnity. After 8 Tribulation Thunders, the Tribulation Cloud still hadn't dissipated. Its might only increased. Indeed, little Li's heavenly tribulation was the highest level. The 9-fold Tribulation Thunder Golden Cloud Heavenly Tribulation. However, his master once had the Merit Light, which helped offset the 9th Tribulation Thunder. Little Li has no Merit Light and must rely solely on herself to withstand it. Yet the 9th Tribulation Thunder is a terrifying heavenly tribulation even his master had no assurance of overcoming. Can little Li pass smoothly? Considering all this, even Lu Qing, with his cultivation state, couldn't help but feel tense at this moment. As for little Yen and 5 elements, they dared not even breathe, only silently praying for little Li. Directly below the Tribulation Cloud Vortex, little Li also knew that soon she would face the strongest Tribulation Thunder. Immediately, she dared not hold back at all and threw a lotus seed, radiating 5 colorful glows, into her mouth. Roar! In the next moment, a roar echoing across the heavens sounded. Immense power erupted from little Li's position. A gigantic silhouette suddenly appeared. Raising its head, it issued a thunderous roar at the Tribulation Cloud Vortex in the sky. The size as one pleases, little Li's ultimate innate divine ability, showcased for the first time in the presence of others besides Lu Qing. Boom! As little Yen and 5 elements stood in shock. The Tribulation Cloud's long-prepared 9th Tribulation Thunder finally fell with a roar.